It's Offside with Hawes and Maguire.
Okay, ready? All
Yeah,
set? Okay,
ready.
1, 2, 3. Welcome to Offside with Hawes and Maguire. I'm Hawes.
I'm Maguire, the day after St. Patrick's Day.
That's right. So would you say that this is the hair of the dog?
I would, although the time probably doesn't justify it. It should have been more like a 10 a.m. maybe to really be the hair of the dog.
That's right. Well,
I
they
think
don't
it
know
should
what
be
time
earlier in
we
the
don't know
day.
what time we're recording.
That's true. It could be 10 a.m.
Yeah, it could be 10
I
a.m.
would still have a pint, but I did have a few yesterday, and it was just a spectacular day.
Was it? Where were you?
Well, I was just telling you, I saw one of your teammates there, Bubba.
Yeah.
At I stopped in to have a couple pints with him at the Heart and Crown on Preston.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was originally hoping to get to the Heart and Crown on Strandherd there in Barhaven.
Yeah.
But scheduling and doing some work for my buddy there, Wayne Smith, couldn't. So I had to back that up. And then Bubba phoned and he said he was going with 6 girls. And I said, well, I'll just pop in.
Yeah. Well, so the motivation was Bubba.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's all. I just needed to clarify that.
And then I went to the restaurant with my name on it.
Oh, you went to Liam Maguire's.
Liam Maguire's.
Yeah.
Our 21st St. Patrick's Day. No, because we missed 2 for COVID. So our 19th in 21 years.
Yeah.
And just great. Great music, great crowd, great time. Regulars there are so solid,
Yeah.
Every bar needs them. I don't care where you drink. If you don't have your regulars, you're not going to survive. Like, you need the people that feel enough to want to.
So you're saying that just the people who randomly go there every once in a while?
Well, if they only go there every once in a while, I mean, you're really dependent on a lot. I mean, even for them to hopefully be return customers. When you got people who come in, 3 to 4 times a week to drink, then that's critical in the bar industry.
So, as a guy who plays hockey 3 times a week and then goes to the pub right after, would I be considered a regular? Like, I never really considered myself a regular, to be honest with you. But I go 3 times a week.
Well, the way the industry would classify you is you're a hockey guy.
I'm a hockey guy.
You guys would be called the hockey guys.
Yeah.
You got the hockey guys. Which hockey guys we got coming in today? Well, we've got the Sunday night league. We've got the Thursday night league.
So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget the Hugh Graham group there that plays on Wednesdays with the St. Mark teachers and all those guys.
Yeah, those guys
they go to the mill as well, man. They're right in there, and that's a big group. They're 14, 15 deep going in. And I think your team represents fairly well, does it not?
Well, do you know what? I will say, first of all, our Monday night team,
yeah.
I believe we had the record.
Yeah.
It's something.
This is great to hear.
It's something that Q is trying to achieve, right? There was some discrepancy. There was a last-minute count going on and stuff like that. But it was very important that we were the team that spent the most over the year, which meant that we had the most to spend in cash, like in kind of like the barter back, like, what I mean, how they give you a whatever % back. It's like on your credit card, you get 1% back.
Yeah.
We get 1% back, and then we were able to drink the last day, of the season, where the championship day.
Yeah.
And then 2 other sessions.
Wow, that's
summer.
impressive.
It was quite good. So you know what? I would say we have a very good participation. I have been obviously remiss in that I haven't been attending. So I haven't made my regular contribution.
Your health has been the issue there. Otherwise, you'd be there. You're a contributor. You go, you participate. You're not one of these guys has a quick shower, chugs one down, and heads home.
No. As a matter of fact, I go to the pub.
Yeah.
I walk in, and they know what to bring me.
Even better.
They know what to bring me, and it's there. I literally don't even have to ask.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
They are
now I
very
do
good
have
that
to
way.
clarify sometimes that I really and truly would prefer more carrot sticks than French fries.
Yeah.
Because
That's just because when you're watching your girlish figure.
I am watching my girlish figure. I'm trying to do that because here's the thing. Like, anyway, so that's the one thing I like. I really love going to the pub. We call it the pub, but it's the Mill Tavern.
The Mill Tavern in
Right.
Manotick. It's had a number of different names, but it's been in existence for as a licensed establishment going back over 30 years now. So it's
Well, it was. I remember when it was Kelly's Welcome.
Yeah, and
right.
the first licensed establishment in there when the McAvoys sold it as their homestead was Pietro's.
Oh, okay.
Which was owned by Joe Princiota.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's the one who converted it.
And he had a chef that weighed about 250 pounds that would race anybody down Main Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he'd
Big
win.
guy?
Yeah, like a big, heavy guy that ran like a linebacker doing a 4.7 40 or something. Like the guy was just blazing fast. And in fact, Jeff Morris in the Messenger wrote a big story on it one time because eventually people heard about these races taking place at 1:30 in the morning. Now, he's mostly racing guys who'd been drinking.
Right. Yeah.
But he did it.
Like this. So was this back when Ben Johnson won the thing? Because I know we were racing down Bank Street.
Yeah.
That night.
That's exactly the time period. That's exactly the
okay.
time period. It would have been in maybe just a year or two after that, but maybe off by a year or two. But it's because I have the original
is he
6
also
going.
using stanazanol?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think he has something else going in him, but don't think it was that. But anyway, that was the first one, and then of course Kelly's, and went from there. But it's been a number of different places. This is probably the edition of it that's done the best. Yeah. And so credit to them and anybody else that's in the business. As I said, credit to Leo Dion, who owns our place, who kept it open through COVID.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody at Liam's yesterday who actually deals with licensees and was referencing just how many shut down during COVID. Like it was, I'm sure as people can well imagine, it killed me personally too, right? I mean, eventually the backdoor result of that was I had to sell my house. So, I just never caught up. And our restaurant should have closed, but Leo kept it open and said, no, we're going to ride it out. And we did. We had a great crowd yesterday, great music, great time. And I took responsible choice home.
Good
for you.
I was
making the phone call there and wasn't going to drive. So, but good time had by all. Another successful St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a bad one, but that's
the thing with St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is always successful.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because people go there. It's like Disney World. When you go someplace wanting to have a good time, that's the magic.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the magic. People go there wanting to have a good time.
Yeah.
I have not seen too many fights on St. Patrick's Day.
You know what? That's a good point. Right. That's a very good point. Yeah. There's so many other days of the year where you would. But on that day, you're right. It's just, you're right. You go in there, it's fun, frivolity. People are upbeat. They're ready to get it on.
Exactly.
I don't care for all of the, the extra costume stuff and the green. I would never, ever. My dad would turn over in his grave if I put food coloring in my beer. But at the end of the day, for the people that get into it, who really aren't Irish, they're just here to celebrate and because it's a piss up, right? Yeah. So we're going to get hammered. We're going to dance and fuck around and whatever. And it's great. And we had that going on yesterday too. So it was just awesome. I'm sure. I heard a lot of other places did really well. Great crowds. In fact, the Mill.
I'm sure they did.
I heard they were packed. There was a lineup to get in there. Yeah. So, it was just a great day. It's always a great day. I always think of my dad, obviously. Born and raised Dubliner, gone a long time now. So it was, I always have a little toast of whiskey. Start off every St. Patrick's Day in the morning with a shot to Dad. And he was on my mind yesterday, as he always is, on the 17th of March. So it was just an outstanding day.
It is. And it's a big day for me too, eh?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, outside of St. Paddy's Day, right?
Yeah.
And I don't do I don't do St. Valentine's Day. Like you know what? I will buy my wife some flowers on a regular day, like just out of nowhere. Most of the time, I buy a plant so that she could plant it. But I buy her something. You know what I mean? I'll do things like that on a different time. But I hate somebody telling me and overcharging me.
Yeah.
For fucking chocolates or whatever it is.
Oh, right? Just because of the day.
Just because of the day.
They got you by 10 points.
I hate that. And early on in our relationship, like we decided, like here's the thing. We're not going to go and spend X amount of dollars on Valentine's Day. Yeah. We'll stay in, make our own Valentine's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll go out another night when it's not. Like, you know what I mean? Sort of like afterwards. So, but Valentine's Day is special to me for a couple reasons. So that's Evan's birthday. So Evan's...
February 14th is Evan's birthday.
No. Did I say Valentine's Day? No, I'm sorry. March 17th.
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Paddy's Day. Yeah. Evan
the day before my son. I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yeah. So Evan was born on March 17th. Sorry, I misspoke with the Valentine's Day. I was using that as an example.
Okay.
But let me try that again. St. Patrick's Day.
Easy for you to say.
Exactly. St. Patrick's Day is Evan's birthday, but also my brother-in-law, Kristen's younger brother, was also born on
March 17th.
On 17th.
Holy cow.
So there's
wow.
There was I don't know this. I don't know if you go back 9 months what the temperature was or whatever.
Well,
you know
it was hot somewhere.
It's hot. It was hot. It was hot somewhere. That's for sure. But yeah. So that obviously supersedes everything.
Of course.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And but to that end, okay. I don't go and I wish, because I love the music, I love all that.
Yeah.
But I just I hate the bandwagon. So that's
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit of a bite in the ass in that way.
Well, it is your son's birthday, and up until just recently, since they've been married, and he's been moving.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
Gone around. He's not here
He's
physically.
back now. He's back in Arizona.
He's back in
For
Arizona.
good.
Yeah. But he was here for a bunch of weeks, right?
Yeah.
So you see him and stuff, but he'll be back, obviously. But I mean, he's not here every March 17th. You're not planning a birthday party for Ev on March 17th.
You know what? Here's the thing. Evan only had one birthday party his whole life because March 17th tended to fall on the March break for kids.
Oh, right.
And so we never had a party for him because, one, it was St. Patrick's Day, but two, it fell in the March break. And so we had one. We had one year, and it was good. But a lot of times people go away for the March break.
Yeah.
So he'll have enough. He has enough opportunity to party on his own.
Oh yeah. Well, there's no doubt about that. Well, you can imagine for us, because Liz obviously was very pregnant on March 17th, 1996. But Rory was born 2 weeks early. So we still, although we didn't do much because she put on so much weight for Rory, her first child.
Yeah.
She's obviously, you've seen her, she's long since lost all that, but she looks great. But I mean, Rory was born on the 18th, and I always say, oh my God, the irony of had he been born, my son been born on St. Patrick's Day. And then, it was pointed out to me years ago, well, Liam, every St. Patrick's Day at midnight, it's technically his birthday. So you kind of got the best of both worlds that way. And I thought, well, you know what? Rocket Richard scored his 50th goal of the season, game 50, March 18th, 1945. So I guess maybe there's some synergy there with Rocket and the Habs as well. So,
okay.
But I drew the big line there.
Yeah, you did. You
connected all the dots.
You connected all the dots to that. Now we weren't even doing that day in hockey history, so we're
I know we just covered off a pile of it.
We'll cover off something else later on.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, I was looking at yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, because it was St. Paddy's Day. And I was chilling and I was watching the golf. Okay?
Yeah.
And I was looking at the stats from the hockey pool, the Hosie and Brown hockey pool, where we're giving away the winner gets a trip to Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just ridiculous. And amazingly fantastic.
And people are excited. Okay. People are now genuinely excited. So I look at it and I see that Good in the Room.
Yeah.
Okay. Is leading.
Right.
Okay, yesterday afternoon, he's up by a half a point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But now, after the evening games, he's dropped.
Okay.
He's 2.5 points. Okay.
Yeah.
Off the lead.
Yeah.
From Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. So literally, this is this is switching hourly as to who's leading and who's not.
My God.
Okay?
It's going to go down to the last game,
It's
isn't it?
It's going to go down to the absolute last game.
Yeah, unreal.
On this. And
we couldn't have asked for better, but I'm sure they're probably going, come on, seriously.
Well, you know what? It's nice to. It would be nice to know, right? It'd be nice to know, like, I want to win. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm, of the belief that, like, the drama.
Yeah.
That this is. Now, it's not causing enough drama for enough people. I would like it to be like an 8-man race.
Yeah, that's probably never going to happen.
You know what I mean?
Over a full season, be tough to have one that type.
It's very tough to have one.
I think we're fortunate we have one. Well, fortunate in the sense that we can follow it like this.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure they're probably wishing it was.
Well,
they both had a better lead.
We're looking at it from the perspective, and either way, we win.
Is Rory still in third?
Rory is in fourth.
Fourth, okay.
But very close. Like he and Dave flip flop.
Right.
You know, it's the same type of way.
Yeah.
But I mean, you never know what's going to happen, right? An injury, you
I
might
know.
get like a Mark Stone thing happening with
Yeah.
somebody. Or,
Yeah.
You know.
Shocking. What do you want if Paddy plays game 1 of the playoffs? I swear to God. I swear to God, if he does.
it could be. But
I know.
as I was going to say, either way, we're going to win because we get a good guy. We know both. We know all these. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've said this. Okay, I am kind of rooting. It would be nice if you could go with your son. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now,
We're going to go at some point. But
close.
yeah, this would be fun because I wouldn't have to pay.
Right.
But that's okay.
Hey, but now,
That's okay.
About Rory turning 28, right? Turning
28 today. Hard to
right?
believe.
And
Hard
then
to
he's
believe.
going to have a job, a career.
Yep.
You know, he's in teachers college. Now,
He is,
right?
yeah.
So he's in teachers.
Yeah.
You know, he'll have a job, making big money. He'll need to get away.
Yeah.
He'll need to get away.
Coaching today's kids, or I should say teaching today's kids, sounds like, I think.
Well, I don't know what I would do if I had kids nowadays. I don't think I would put them in school.
You'd homeschool?
You know what? I think maybe. You know what?
Or just let them run
or
wild.
Or find a school.
Teach them how to drive at 10 and take it out
exactly. Work the farm. No, but I want my kids going to school where they're going to learn how to write, how to read, how to do math. I don't give a fuck about gender studies and all this other stuff that they have as part of the agenda.
I know.
Do you know kids don't know how to fucking write? They don't know how to write in cursive. They don't know how to write. They can print poorly.
Yeah.
Right? They can type with their fucking thumbs.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to do it. They don't know the tactile. And you know that the brain...
Nobody's writing anymore, though. Like,
Yeah,
you
but-
almost
but
don't
you-
need to write.
But this is why we have stupid people. Because do you know that the brain, when you write, that action of writing, the tactile function of writing, okay, it creates synapses in your brain that help you remember things.
Yeah.
It helps you, structure things. It really has a long-term benefit.
What time does the bar open?
Right. And I bet you remember. Used to be 11 o'clock. Okay.
Now it's 9.
That's right. But you get my point, right?
I do. That's interesting.
You know, anyhow, all that being said is you know what, my kids, your kids are soon to be probably having their own children, and it scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? I don't even know what to do.
Well, I think I'm going to speak on behalf of your children too.
Okay.
And I'm going to speak on behalf of mine, that I think they're going to be great parents. I think your son and your daughter both will be great parents. And by the way, I've met the spouses, and I think they'll be outstanding.
You know what? I think so too. But
it's
where they're going to be educated, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where they
unfortunately,
that's where they indoctrinate. And you know,
fair enough, fair point.
We know a guy who was the president of the teachers union for a while, right?
Yep.
You know Dave.
Yep.
Okay. And it's one of the things that he's very upset about. Now he's now retired, but this has been a long-term indoctrination of people as opposed to educating them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how we got talking about that, but
I don't either. It was a hell of a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but,
it is. But you know what? That's okay.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That's just you and I doing what we do.
That's right. No, exactly.
We just got off topic a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think it's good stuff because most of the people watching are parents.
Or grandparents too.
Or grandparents.
Yeah, I
Who
look
knows?
at the stats, who watches us.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of old
very
people.
older crowd.
A lot of old people. A lot of we got to know our demographic.
Over 80?
Yeah, it's it's the over 50 crowd is the predominant.
Well, for
45
sure.
and over,
The 20-year-olds and
predominantly
30-year-olds aren't
ones.
going to watch.
Because they're so busy fucking on their phones.
Of course.
Literally, they're watching porn, fucking on
Yeah.
their phones.
Well, hey, listen, Pornhub's a multi-billion-dollar industry for a reason.
That's in Montreal. That's a Canadian company.
I know.
Did you know that?
Of course, I was there.
You were there. Were you in one of those?
Holy serious.
You were in a St. Patrick's Day special.
Yeah.
The Irish. It was an ode to the little people.
Yeah,
and they were talking about your
maybe
height.
short, but it sure is skinny. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we were talking about. That's what we were talking about. The
St. Patrick's
hockey
Day.
Pool.
Oh yeah, the hockey pool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So and then we got, you know what I mean, bringing Rory. That's how it got there.
That's
so anyhow, we're either way we're gonna win because whether it's Chuck, who is a great guy,
absolutely,
like, super guy,
known him since he was born,
and Tim, who is also a great guy. I mean, really, you don't know him, but you'll like him.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? We get the opportunity of having another great guy come on the trip.
Perfect.
So that's the important thing. So we are looking forward to that. Now let's move on to something else.
All right.
Okay. So so this is Saturday now, and I've got my feet up watching the hockey night in Canada.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah.
And first of all, I know we're going to talk about the late game.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the early game.
Yep.
Okay.
Which one?
Well, let's talk about Toronto.
Okay, we loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And so what did you love? What did you love? I want to hear. Okay.
I love them blowing it.
Okay, that too.
Love them blowing it,
what did you think about them wearing the St. Pat's jerseys?
Oh well, they've done that before.
Yeah, I know. But what do you think about that?
Well, it was great. It's a great throwback. I mean, that's the fact of the matter is the Toronto St. Patrick's were named St. Patrick's in basically to respect the Irish, the predominant Irish population of Toronto in the early 1920s.
But it wasn't, though. That's the irony. In the early part of the century, Toronto was the fucking WASP capital of the world. Catholics couldn't get jobs.
I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm talking about they did it anyway,
right?
To honor them. I don't know about demographics or numbers or whatnot, but they were called.
Probably they were the ones who wanted to go to the games.
Well, maybe so. They played in a much smaller rink. It was Mutual Street Arena. It was certainly not Maple Leaf Gardens, which Conn Smythe had built in 1931. But I mean, the Toronto St. Pat's, it's a throwback. They've done it before. In fact, the very first time it was ever after the St. Pat's, it was King Clancy, who was a longtime Maple Leaf, Ottawa guy, legend. I had a chance to meet him and interview him in '83. It was just classic. Anyway, he wore. Imagine the NHL allowed him to do this. Of course, it was the 1930s. But Leafs ended up in a game on St. Patrick's Day. It was on the schedule, so they knew, obviously months ahead. And they allowed, the NHL did, and allowed the Leafs and King, he wore an all-green uniform in the game. And it was against Boston, and the Bruins complained after 40 minutes and said it was so distracting that they insisted that he had to go back and put his regular Maple Leaf sweater on. This was after he was sold by the Ottawa Senators to the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple years after. So anyway, it's interesting. Yeah. You asked me what I thought of it. I loved it.
I liked it too, but I've been listening to people have been tweeting. They didn't like it. They
who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean,
no,
you know what I just discovered? Or I didn't discover. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you go to games. You're a hockey fan. You follow sport. We all go to games. Let's just use the CTC for example.
Yeah.
Okay. Full house, 18,500 suite holders, everything. Call it 20,000 people. How many people do you think, Chris? And I don't know, but I have an idea. I'm just ballparking. I'm going to ask you. How many people do you think, let's call it a 20,000 crowd, are actually on Twitter or social media of those 20,000?
How many do you think? I know one that's not.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not. Well,
I think you're in at least 50 to 60% of the crowd. Maybe.
Not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter.
Right.
Not on Twitter, and maybe hardly ever on anything, and maybe their wives are, or if they are, it's only superficially to. I know myself, I have to be on, and I'm on these platforms. I need to promote, and I do. But I am responsible for this as well, because I get the mindset thinking as I read, and what's prompting me to say this is what you're saying.
Okay.
That people, who was complaining about where did you hear or see any complaints about the St. Pat sweaters?
It was it was on the internet, on Facebook.
On Facebook, okay. So you saw people
talking about it, and then other people, you go down and
you scroll down and people,
and it's like, really?
Yeah. I just don't think they represent the majority. I think my guess is the majority of not only those who paid to go to the game that night, most importantly, were entertained by it, knew it was coming. It was all over the news. The Leafs are going to do it. Everyone knew for weeks the Leafs are going to do it. They've done it before.
Yeah.
So it's something they typically do when they have a game in and around St. Patrick's Day. They throw the St. Pat's jerseys on.
Right.
So, I mean, the Canadians have done throwbacks too, but not for any date reference. But this is significant because that was their team name.
Right.
It was for that reason. It was that sweater, and they go back to it regularly. I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I watched the game in the East. Okay, and I know there was an afternoon game. Ottawa played in the afternoon.
There was a couple afternoon games.
Yeah.
And Ottawa's game was fantastic. And Brady to Chuck, hat trick.
I didn't see it. In the after I was doing other things.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry for not being able to comment about it. But,
no big deal.
but then the night game. So I watched the early game.
Yeah.
Then I go and I watch the Edmonton.
That's the game of the year so far in the
Edmonton,
NHL.
Colorado game.
Yeah, game of the year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Like the speed of the game, the
everything.
It was just unfrickin' believable.
It was.
Like
It was. It lived up to the hype. Like everybody's had it circled on the calendar for about the last 2 or 3 weeks as it's been coming closer, as McDavid's been racing up trying to track down not only McKinnon, who overtook Kucherov, but trying to track down Kucherov. He's 8 points back of Kucherov, 10 back of McKinnon, because McKinnon did extend his point streak on Saturday night. McDavid did not get a point, despite they had some great chances with him on the ice. It was all sorts of great plays.
Some guys even tried to kick the puck in the net.
Some guys tried to kick the puck in the net. Hyman's goal was clearly an easy one to call back. But look at it this way. You just hit the nail on the head. Saturday night, late game. I know it was a late game, and maybe people were celebrating St. Patrick's Day early. Edmonton, Colorado, who could very well meet in the conference final. 77 shots on net, 3-2 final. You got 2 lead changes in the third period. You've got an overtime goal scored, but less than a second to go to win it.
Less than a second.
You've got a penalty shot. You got a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
You got a goal disallowed. You got the 2 best players on the planet going toe-to-toe, who both happen to be Canadian. I mean, it's just so delicious. And it lived up to the billing. Both goaltenders were second and third star, respectively.
Yeah.
I mean, Skinner made over 40 saves.
Skinner played
or 40 on the nose.
Listen, if he can play like that in the playoffs, they will make it to the
Well,
final.
they'll need him for sure. They'll need him for sure. I mean, you need look no further than your Bruins last year, who rewrote the record book, and then Ullmark just laid an egg, and they didn't make the switch to Swayman in time, and they lose in overtime in Game 7 and destroy that great feeling from such a record-setting season. Yeah. There's still only one team that's won 60-plus games in the NHL and gone on to win the Cup. Only one. It's the 77 Habs. The others they've burned out in the playoffs, So
wow, that is the thing. Playoff hockey is very different. Remember when Ottawa won that President's Cup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
They should have won a cup in there.
They should have. They should have. And
between 99 and 04, there should have been a cup in there, and all they needed to do was have a different coach.
Well, you know what? I say this. I think that things were working against them, though, against Anaheim, because what they called all year as penalties, the clutching, the grabbing, and all that stuff, they stopped. And Anaheim just fucking manhandled Ottawa in that series. Oh, yeah.
They didn't stop. I mean, that's playoff hockey. That's been the norm for 100 years.
I understand, but...
Yeah.
I
mean, Jacques was gone by then.
Yeah, he was gone.
That was Brian Murray.
Brian Murray's first
year. Yeah. But, I mean, the fallacy there... Not the fallacy, but the ridiculous of the 07 final was... Or the 07 playoffs was Chris Pronger getting 2 one-game suspensions for absolutely... attempted murder.
Yeah, he had a bit of a mean streak there.
I mean, and the justification being in the one game in the final because, well, it's the finals.
Yeah.
It's worth way more. And I mean, technically that's correct, but you got a 6'6" giant out there with bad intentions, just absolutely killing guys almost. The entire playoff. And boy, man, what a beast he was. And I don't know, the clutching and grabbing and whatnot. I mean, that series was hanging on Alfie's stick, and he shot the puck at Niedermayer. Otherwise, if they win that game, they tie the series at 2, and it's a best of 3. And they've got all the momentum. He shoots the puck at Niedermayer at the end of the second. There's a turning point in every series, Chris. Yeah, almost.
You think that
99, yes. Me personally, I think I was sitting right beside Kelly Rudy in the CBC, in the Hockey Night in Canada box in 07 in Game 4. And I had done some stuff pregame, not on air, but off air. I'd done some stuff pregame downstairs. So I had a pass. I said, Liam, you can sit in the box. I sat in the box. I sat with Rudy and the boys while they were watching the game. Then they went and do the hits on Hockey Night in Canada. I was sitting right there. And Kelly turned to me and said, did he just shoot the puck at him? I went, yeah, right at him. Oh, boy. And because the thought was, how's Anaheim going to respond in the third period? They're going to come out and go after Ralphie? Of course they didn't, right? And now because we all know now, Niedermeyer went in the dressing room and said, boys, don't do a damn thing. Win this third period, we go home up 3-1. Don't touch them. Leave them be. Go and win that third period, and they did. Because Heatley had just scored to tie it, right?
Right.
So, no, I don't think the clutching and Ottawa was right there. I mean, they lost the series 4-1, but it wasn't a 4-1 series. You know what I mean? That was probably, I mean, the 0-3 team. Look, if they get by New Jersey or that goes into overtime in Game 7, I think they probably beat Jersey in 0-3. I mean, they certainly could have had a chance. I mean, even if they get by Pittsburgh in 2017, like Ottawa's just been a little snake bit. Let's be honest.
Well, you know what? I hope someday that we get to see it. I mean, I would be honest with you. I would be very excited for Ottawa to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, I think it would change you into and a lot of people.
Listen, I'm a Sens fan too. Like, you know what?
I know what you are. I know what Bruins are in your heart.
You know what I mean? But you can't take that away. And all that. Okay, so let me ask you something.
It was an unbelievable game. Lived up to the hype. Definitely the game of the year, game of the weekend, game of the month, game of the year. And watched it at my buddy Ollie's place, where he's house sitting for his sister, and there was a few of us there. We watched it. It was outstanding. Just loved it.
Oh, it was very exciting. Yeah. Okay, so I have certain feelings about this, but the hit on Siri. Okay.
Yeah.
The headshot, they're calling it, all that stuff.
Yeah. So how many games do you think Kulikov should get in your world,
None.
Chris?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. And I'm going to tell you why. And I've been the guy with the head down like this at that level. You take your head down and you reach out at that. You're putting yourself in the position of fucking getting hit like that. Yep. And you know what? He's coming across, and I don't give a shit what they say. He did hit his shoulder as well.
Yeah.
No, but he clipped Siri's shoulder as well as his head.
He did, but the primary contact was the head.
Right, but then he shouldn't have been down. Like, you can't, like, you know what? Like, you're gonna blame somebody for, like, all he was doing.
No, I'm blaming Kulikov. He's the guy who delivered the hit to the head, and in that particular scenario,
he really meant to hit the guy in the head.
I do personally, yeah. Me personally, yes. I believe head contact was deliberate there. It was really the only point he really could contact. Well, not really. He could have, I guess, in that split second, although we're trying to surmise what that would be like in a split second of NHL hockey, which none of us
the speed at which
have ever.
The game is,
exactly.
Right?
So I'll cut him a little bit of slack, but it was such a deliberate blow. In my view, I felt it was very deliberate. He's going to become the 22nd person suspended this year in the NHL. And as I told you, after the Gallagher hit, there'll be 10 more, and this will be number 7. So there you go. Just get ready, folks, because next week there'll be another one. It's as simple as that.
I know, but I don't think in that. You know what? I've been the guy to get the head hit. Like, I'm a short guy to start off with. Right?
Yeah, I've been smoked in the head too, and I'm not. Well, I'm 5'11". I'm definitely not a tall guy, but I mean,
but
I think anyone who's played has been taking a hit. Has taken a hit at some point.
But you know what? Nobody wants to get hit in the head. Nobody. You know what?
No, of course not.
But you know, most guys are not. Listen, I don't.
So you're saying Kulikov deserves no games because Connor Sheary was bent over and not in a position to protect himself. When he bends over and
leans forward, he puts himself in that position.
Yeah.
That's like the same thing. Guy he's going
hits
from
behind in the corner,
and he turns and they hit from behind the corner. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
And that's where, I mean, we want to talk about historically and stuff like that, where guys used to have to. The game was slower, but guys used to have to think. You know what? Like, and I remember, like, I we don't play contact anymore, right?
No,
like, it's just incidental. But you're going into the corner. You had to fucking.
Oh, I know.
Like, you had
Nobody went in the corner like they do today. No one went against the boards because there's no hitting in hockey till these kids are 13, 14. They all start playing at 5. They've got 8 years, and in most of the cases, these kids are playing some form of competitive hockey by the time they're 7. Mm-hmm. So that's 6 or 7 years of competitive hockey where you've built in all of the habits. Yeah. And unfortunately, you've lost by checking out and not allowing these kids to not allowing to be taught as a skill, right. Like skating, shooting, passing. They take it out because all the namby-pamby left-wingers there think it's, we don't want these kids getting ingrained and take concussions and everything else. Not understanding they're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, well,
they're doing the exact opposite.
A problem.
That's right. However, I do not believe that's the case here.
As soon as they get surging testosterone, okay, in midget hockey.
How many kids are 14 are going just licking their lips to get out there?
Oh, yeah.
And start banging.
Yeah.
And now people are talking about raising it higher. But you see, those aren't hockey fans.
Right.
They're not the fans of the game who know the intricacies of the game. They've never played, they can't skate, they've never been in a hit, they've never been in anything. Yeah. Anything at all.
I can't wait until the transsexual males go and play in the women's hockey.
That'll be something.
Wouldn't that be, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, they're racing the ladies in the water down in the States there. And where's the other one? There was one other one there where...
the diving.
The diving. The diving
there was a whole bunch. Like, listen.
Yeah, it's been all...
Fact of the matter, like that whole...
Now they're allowed in the dressing rooms.
I know.
They're allowed in the dressing rooms.
Hockey Canada, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting that you're allowing that.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. People come up, they talk about safe spaces, right?
Yeah.
So where does a young lady go? I mean, listen, you know what? Here's the thing. Nobody wanted to be in the ladies' change room more than me for many years. But not for the reasons.
Who knows? All we had to do was dress like Klinger from that.
Exactly.
There could have been right in there.
Like, there's a reason Klinger was bucking for a Section 8.
That's right, man.
Okay?
That's right.
So these guys are bucking for Section 8s.
Yeah.
And these people, and honest to God, to indulge them in that manner is absolutely, you know what? I think it's a travesty.
Yeah.
It's a travesty that they're allowing these things to happen. And honestly, I think these people should be charged with the endangerment of youth by doing that. Yeah. You know what? I'm not a lawyer, okay? And I wish I was.
Well, we can play one on Offside with Hawes and Maguire.
That's right. No, but I wish I was. I wish there was a lawyer who had the balls. Yes, I said balls, and I mean by chutzpah, not by testicles. Okay?
Yeah.
It could be a female lawyer who would stand up and take these people to task for all the stuff that they're doing.
That's a great point, man. I love it. I wish so too. I really do. I really do. It's I'd say a few other things, but I'm not.
But you won't because Liam is very politically correct when it comes to being on camera, and I absolutely respect that. On the other hand, I'm part of the I don't give a fuck generation.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. If you don't like me, you don't have to like me. Guess what? I like me. Okay? It's like, you know what I'm like? I'm like Del Griffith. Okay?
Yeah.
From Planes and Trains. I like me. My wife likes me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Such a good movie.
You know, it is. It's great.
Yeah.
And anytime I can compare myself to John Candy.
Yeah. It's
not just because of size.
Yeah. Well.
All right. Listen, we got some things to do. Oh.
All right.
We're going to cut to a segment.
Yes.
That we call Ask Liam.
Oh, boy.
Hey, welcome back. This is our segment we call Ask Liam. And this is the part, as y'all know, if Liam doesn't get it, then I get a pitcher of beer. And if he does get it, that's no big deal.
We still get a pitcher of beer and we share it.
All right. So here's the deal, okay? So here's the question. I'm going to try to phrase this like a proper way here, but okay. So this individual or a group of individuals was at the Hockey Hall of Fame and saw a strange trophy called the O'Brien Cup.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they kind of wanted to know, what is the O'Brien Cup?
Because they saw NHL team names on it. And so they were going, what the hell's going on? Well, I never even heard of the O'Brien Cup. For good reason. It's been out of circulation since 1951. That's a long time. But the O'Brien Cup, it has a significant historical reflection or connection, I guess I should say, to pro hockey in the area. So the Senator O'Brien brought forth the trophy in honor of his son, who was J. Ambrose O'Brien.
Oh, we know who that is.
Who started the National Hockey Association.
That was his son.
That was his son.
Okay, so he was
Ambrose, the old man. I'm going to say the old man. We're talking about 1909 here. The NHA started in 1909. So the winner of the NHA the winner, whoever won the NHA, he awarded the O'Brien Cup to the winner of the NHA, because in those days, when you won the NHA, you did not win the Stanley Cup.
No, you had to compete for
That's
the Stanley
right.
Cup.
You then had to compete against 1 to 2 other leagues, all depending when they were in existence across Canada. So the winner of the NHA received the O'Brien Cup until the NHA folded and it went to the NHL. Then the O'Brien Cup went to the winner of the NHL, because again, you did not win the Stanley Cup when you won the NHL until 1926.
Right. That was the year?
26, the Stanley Cup became under exclusive control of the NHL in 1926. Okay. And reason being that the other leagues folded, PCHA, WHL, WCHL, they had different names, PCHL, Pacific Coast Hockey Association, Western Hockey League, West Coast Hockey League. They folded, and those teams were, 3 of them, were purchased, the franchises, and became the Detroit, Chicago, and New York franchises. Okay. And Detroit and Chicago anyway, and not New York. But I mean, Detroit and Chicago were formerly Western Hockey League franchises. So if you won the NHL until...
The original 6 started in 1926, is what you're saying?
No. The original 6 is just a media term. A term, a play on words that basically describes the era in the NHL from 1942 to 1967.
Oh, okay.
Because the NHL in the 20s and 30s was a 10-team league.
Oh, okay.
They had 2 divisions, they had 10 teams. The Depression, the stock market crashed in 29, and the Depression that followed, teams fell off. There was a lot of movement, including the Ottawa Senators.
Right.
That's when Ottawa moved to St. Louis for a year. You know, you had the Pittsburgh Pirates going to Philadelphia. You had the Quebec Bulldogs became the Hamilton Tigers, became the New York Americans. You had a lot of movement, a lot of teams, a lot of history. The original 6 really just is specific to the time period of when it was only 6 teams after the last team to fold from 7 to 6, which was the Brooklyn Americans, who had been the New York Americans, as I just gave you the timeline there. So from 1942 until modern expansion in 67. Okay. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Philly, LA, and the rest, right? California. So when Minnesota, when they came in, that's modern expansion. That was the end of the 06 era. So the O'Brien Cup, for those guys that were at the hall, is a trophy that was pretty synonymous, pretty significant in hockey history, certainly from 1909 to 1917, then from 1917 to 1926, then from 1926 to 1950, they gave it to the team that was runner-up in the NHL. Right? Yeah. Okay. So you got the Stanley Cup winner, and then the one who finished second got the O'Brien Cup. Okay. And then in 1950, Clarence Campbell said, you know what, only losers finish second. So
I think it was Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby. What was it? What was the exact line?
Do you remember? You're either first or last, isn't it, or whatever?
It's something. Or, if you're not, I can't remember.
If you're not the winner, you're a loser.
It's not that. It's not that. Like but it is something from Ricky Bobby and. And they took it out of circulation. However, it remains in a prominent place at the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't know when you were last at the Hall. They changed their displays there. When I say they change it, they change about 20% maybe. I don't even know the exact number. I'm going to say it's around 20% of the Hall is changed on a regular basis. Right. Like they have enough stuff. They could build a second Hall. There's enough stuff that doesn't get shown in perpetuity.
No, because you cannot.
There's too much.
And you know what? You want to shuffle people through too, right? So I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been to the Hockey Hall of Fame in
a while.
Oh God, Evan was young. Like he was probably 12, 13 at the time.
Yeah.
It's
been about 4 years probably for me. Like the year before COVID, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
I was there, so coming in 5 years, but 2019. But It's usually I don't. Usually every couple of years I go. I mean, there was a period of years I know they didn't want me there because of the Paul Henderson stuff. So I think I was persona non grata there for about.
You know what? Now they have facial recognition. He's not even allowed through the front door. It's like.
Yeah.
You have. You know what? Here's the thing is.
I'm a kinder, gentler Liam Maguire.
Do they still have? It's not. I'm not talking Hockey Hall of Fame, Toronto, because I don't go to Toronto very often.
Yeah.
What was that knights thing where they used to ride on the horses and pretend they were knights?
Yeah, jousting.
Yeah, exactly. They have one of those things down there. I forget what it's called.
Where?
In Toronto. I went to it one time. Yeah,
okay.
It was down near Fort York or whatever, where they have those things. I was just wondering if they had that. If you ever done that?
No, I've never even seen it. I've never.
For a man who loves violence,
I love violence.
You do.
Yeah,
you should be.
I didn't even know it existed.
Have you been to the Osgood when they revitalized?
I went to 1 year, and I was living in the village, and the woman who was organizing it, I coached her son in hockey, and so she was all over me. You got to go. You got to go. I said, yeah, sure, I'll come out. And I go out there, and I'm in the thing there by the. Where they set up.
And they weren't using real swords, so you were disappointed?
No, though, just, you know what? The people were, like, I went to the function at the arena, the Stuart Holmes Arena. And I'm upstairs there, and I'm having a pint, and everyone coming up, and they're just talking to me like they're from that era, And I'm going, hey, like you're my neighbor. It's okay. Like, you can talk to me like we're talking right now. Right. You don't have to go merrily, give me all that vows and this and that. Like, fuck off. What the hell? Jesus Christ. And I didn't know what the hell. I just thought it was kind of. Yeah. I appreciate they were getting into it. If that's your thing, go ahead. But yeah, I was going like, was there going to be a real fight here or what?
Again, we're disappointed. That was our Ask Liam segment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question.
It was a good question. Hey, we're back, and that was a good question.
It was.
It was a good question. And so here's the thing: we're going to jump right into, because we got other things to do.
Yeah.
We're going to jump right into this week in hockey history.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, I'm going to help you with this one.
I figured.
Okay. All right.
Hello, Canada.
Lafleur coming out rather gingerly. Back to Lafleur.
Oh, the boxing shoots. He scores!
This week in hockey history.
Welcome back to This Week in Hockey History. And this is a very important week. This is the week of March today's the 18th. We're shooting on the 18th.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward to, let's just pick an arbitrary date, March 20th, 1948.
Soccer.
Okay. So what?
I know between you and Richard Peters are two of the happiest people around.
What do you think happened on March 20th, 1948?
I think God decided to grace Mr. and Mrs. Orr with perfection. And Robert Gordon Orr was born on March 20th, 1948 in Parry Sound, Ontario. Beautiful little town. I believe it's off Lake Huron, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's north. It's north of,
okay.
It's kind of Georgian Bay.
Georgian Bay area, yeah. That's it. That's the exact one I was looking for.
Technically, I guess that's part of Lake Huron.
I suppose, but no, you're more accurate there on that for sure. But yeah, Bob, yours.
Gateway to the north.
Gateway to the north, heading to Northern Ontario, right? I mean, you boogie right up to North Bay from there.
Well, listen, I'm going to claim Parry Sound as part of Northern Ontario.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Robert Gordon Orr, okay, who, and I've told you this before. When I was a kid, of course, loved Bobby Orr, right? And surrounded by great hockey players in my town, as it was, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
Okay? And before, like, they started this thing in the 90s, okay, visualization and goaltenders visualization. Like, I was visualizing back in the early 70s. I would sit there and I'd be in the dressing room and I would say, you're as good as Bobby Orr. You could go out there and play like Bobby Orr. Go out there and play like Bobby Orr. And then I'd go and get my ass kicked. But the point was I was visualizing.
Yeah.
And visualizing a guy who could do things and could control a game and was as amazing off the ice as he was on the ice.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I love Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear of, like, listen, he's not a saint. You know what I mean? They're not canonizing the guy. But at the same time, you know.
I think he's a saint. I don't know.
He is, well, no, I mean, like, you know, I mean.
I mean, saint-like qualities in terms.
Yeah.
You just touched on something I think is very important. Those of us who are fortunate enough to have seen him play, and I only saw him play live once, but I mean, to see him play on TV the few times that we did, Hockey Night in Canada, we're in the playoffs because the Bruins were always in those days, other than his first year. I mean, we were blessed. But then to have him lead the life that he has since, given everything he went through with Eagleson, and everything he's done, and I know firsthand because he has done things for me personally. One tiny little speck on the wheel of countless thousands that he has met, like to a degree where I would be on a scale of 1 to 10 up maybe around a 3.
Yeah.
And here I am sending him an email asking a favor, and he does it.
Yeah.
And, for these people who were thrilled to get something from him that I asked him to do, and he does it.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty special stuff.
Well, you know what? I remember hearing this when I was young. And I have another story to tell, kind of related to this. This lady had taken her, single mom, had taken her son to the Boston Garden to see a Bruins game.
Yeah.
And they came out and they're leaving and they have a flat tire. And this is a single mom. She's young. She doesn't even know how to change the tire.
Yeah.
But this guy comes out, Bobby Orr, and he changes her tire.
Where was this?
This was at the Boston Garden.
Boston Garden.
Boston Garden, like that. Now this was, it was reported in the newspaper because she wrote in and thanked and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember this, and it was in the, when I was young, and I remember my dad telling me about this, you know what I mean, and this, and all that. And I just thought to myself, that's a real, great guy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to fast forward. Now, this is not about Bobby Orr. It's about Wendell Clark.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So Wendell Clark lives just north of Toronto. Okay?
Yeah.
Or at the time.
He did, yep.
Okay? And
Aurora, I think.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
in Aurora.
Yep.
So my brother lived in Aurora.
Yep.
Okay? So when my brother's driving, there's this guy who's off the road in the ditch. It's a snowstorm in Toronto, and, they don't know how to fucking drive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so my brother, Northern Ontario guy, okay, pulls over, is helping this guy, okay, and my brother lived right around the corner, runs home, gets a shovel, digging this guy out, try and help him get out. This other guy pulls up in a truck, 4x4, okay, turns out to be Wendell Clark. My brother recognizes him right away.
Lifted the car out with one hand.
So then he comes and he starts helping.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other guy, so the guy who's actually driving,
Yeah.
okay, is a new immigrant to Canada.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't recognize
doesn't know who Wendell Clark is at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't know Wendell Clark. Well, Wendell Clark goes, oh, listen, I got a winch. Okay. So they go and they climb underneath. They wrap it around. They pull the guy out. Okay. Everything like that. And Wendell goes, hey, no problem. See you later. Okay, and my brother's like, oh, I wanted to talk, meanwhile, the other guy, the Asian guy, okay, is going, he's fawning over my brother for all the help. He goes, do you realize he just...
You know who that was that stopped?
So I'm just saying
story.
that, you know what, Wendell Clark did a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Bobby Orr.
As did Bobby Orr.
Great thing.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I admire in hockey players, frankly.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of NBA guys or NFL guys doing stuff like that.
They may. I certainly can't recall off the top of my head, but I didn't know either of those stories. I obviously didn't know about your brother. You hadn't shared that with me before, and I didn't know the one about Bobby, but I'm not surprised about Bobby.
Well,
I'm not
it's a famous
surprised
story about Bobby Orr.
Is it? I mean, I think he's done so much. I don't know where it would. I mean, there's just been so many stories, but. Just before we, unless you want to go on about him, but I mean, statistically, the guy rewrote the record book, obviously, as we know, as a defenseman. It's not just as a defenseman. It's just been almost glossed over. The guy won 2 scoring championships as a defenseman. You know, we're all fawning over Quinn, the race this year between Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, and they're doing great.
Yeah.
They're both going to end up around 90 points. Carlson had 100 last year.
break Orr's record for most. Let me try that again. For most goals as a defenseman in career.
Well, no, Bobby doesn't hold that record. No,
who
no,
holds
no.
that?
That's Ray Bourque and Paul Coffey. Both scored over 400.
Okay.
Bobby only scored 270. But the thing is, Bobby only played 10 years, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. All of his numbers were accomplished in a decade, basically. They're accomplished in a decade. Like a handful of games he played with Chicago, he don't count.
No,
I mean, he was there. He picked up points, yes, but
even his last year in Boston was a protracted year.
Well, yeah, it was. He got hurt, and because they had Orr in Park for 10 games after the trade. I can't. I'll tell you, that would have been, even as a Hab fan, I was so hoping to watch that over the course of the season. I'm huge fans of them both. Park from 72. Told everybody. I told people on the weekend I got talking about it. I had no hate. All the hate as a 13-year-old boy for me evaporated because of the Summit Series.
Right.
I couldn't, before that, I wanted the Leafs to lose every game 10-0.
Me too.
After that, I wanted Paul Henderson to get a hat trick every game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just no way you could think the same
about
those guys. Brad Park, Phil Esposito, Tony, all the guys that weren't Habs, which was the majority of the team. I was just 4 or 5 Habs on the team. The majority weren't Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
I cheered for them significantly after 72.
Well, and you know what? And I will say this. Having met, over the years, a number of guys, okay? But having met certain guys, we went down, we interviewed, and of course we're going to talk about
We're going to
this
tee
later.
it up, yeah.
We're going to tee it up later. But we met some guys that I was really excited about. And some guys was but some pretty nice guys. Pretty great guys that I now, and it wasn't the first time I met Larry Robinson, I told, and we had discussed it before, and he remembered. Actually, I don't say he remembered that, but he remembered who he was with at that lock that we met.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Green. I do.
Okay,
I remember you guys talking about that. It was great. He came right back to him too.
Yeah. But anyway, you realize that even though they're on a team that you don't like, they're great guys.
They are great guys.
How
nice, again, Hab fan, we're sitting down Ken Hodges. I know we're not teeing it up right now, but I mean, how gracious could he have been? I mean, more gracious. He couldn't have been more gracious. It was, and cracking the jokes right away,
Yeah, he was carving right off. It was great. And this is the thing. I really like that. I look forward to someday.
Yeah.
I would love to play a round of golf with Bobby Orr, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to meet him. That would be great. And stuff. But
I think minimally we need to figure out a way. Bobby. The scary part about all this, we're talking about March 20th. I think you're probably going to post it right around then. And Bobby's birthday, he's going to be 76.
Yeah.
76 years old, Bobby Orr. I mean, it's like me talking about my son at 28. I can't even. What was Ev yesterday? 29.
No, Ev's 26.
Oh, Ev's younger. Ev's 26.
Younger.
Excuse me. Yeah, apologize. Yeah, I knew that. But even him at 26, you must be going, come on. He should still be in grade 4 at St. Leonard's, Chris.
You know what?
Really?
I made a few years ago, I made this little picture video on Facebook that Kristen keeps repeating, adding a year to Springsteen in the background.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember, and I still remember Evie, you know what I mean? That smile, right?
Yeah.
The smile when he's a little more serious now as an adult, and you know what I mean? But, when he would smile and be happy and he had to grin. I'll tell you the story. So Kristen, because she was at home with the kids, okay, we chose to have her be home, okay? And some of the neighbors, actually one of the neighbors said, listen, I don't have daycare for my kids. Would you watch my kid? So Chris ended up having a couple kids that were around, you know what I mean? So Evan was trying to be, he was, all right. And this might be a Steph Rawlings influence. I'm not sure.
Oh, boy. Okay. This can go anywhere now, folks.
Evan goes to the kids. He goes, okay, who wants to play cards for money? And my wife was blowing away. She goes, no, Evan, no, that's gambling. All right, okay. Who wants to gamble? And it's like, oh.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's
yeah,
good.
no, it is the fact that it's hard to believe time passes so quickly.
Yeah.
Right. But someday I hope that I get an opportunity to spend some time with Argio. But we'll see. You know what? My daughter lives in Florida. I'm gonna just keep traveling to the coast to where he lives and just hope I see him around the supermarket somewhere.
There you go.
Just hang out, find out where he shops. Is that
Hey.
is that stalking?
Hey, son.
All right. So that was this week in hockey history.
That's a good one.
Hello, Canada.
Lafleur coming out rather gingerly. Back to Lafleur. Oh!
The Bossy shoots. He scores!
This week in hockey history.
Okay, welcome back. We are going to stick with the whole Boston theme.
Yeah, we are.
We are going to tee up an interview that we did with. Okay, so there's a lot of big numbers, right? Okay, in hockey, and if I mention numbers, there automatically names come to mind, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned number 4, and I automatically think Bobby Orr. You might think Jean Beliveau.
I would think both of them.
You
for
think
sure.
both
Yeah,
of them?
yeah.
Okay. If I mention 27, who do you think of?
Sittler.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I mention 29, who do you think of?
Dryden.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I mention 8, who do you think of?
Dave Schultz.
Okay. I don't think of Dave Schultz. You violent bastard. Okay. You know who I think of? You know, somebody who
Number 8 for you.
Number 8 for
would be
me
Ken Hodge.
is Ken Hodge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was I? You know what? You know why Ken Hodge didn't fight? Because nobody wanted to fight him.
Well, he fought, but he didn't fight as often as. Well, of course, when you look, you got Wayne Cashman in front of you, and some other guys at Boston
Bobby
had
Schwartz?
and Pie Face, and a little bit more in the frequent fighter program. Schmatz came a little bit later, but I mean, Pie was there and fought a lot. Hodge fought. He certainly scrapped, but he was one. He was very tough.
Tough hombre.
Very tough hombre.
Very
tough hombre.
Yeah.
And
But
we just had spectacular.
We had the pleasure
Yeah.
of being invited into his home.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful home, a wonderful wife, and they were so welcoming. And we sat down with him for this interview.
Yeah.
That, honest to God, it was relaxed.
Yeah.
And funny and fun.
It was.
Right from the start.
Right from the
Right
very
from the
start, he had us at ease. He seemed so thrilled to have us there. It was a beautiful home in a gated community, not far from Tampa.
Yeah.
We just had a blast. They were so gracious, both of them. I just loved it. I mean, him and his wife been together 61 years, I think it is.
Oh, forever.
You know,
They
forever.
met. They were
met
kids.
when he was playing junior.
Yeah.
When he's playing junior in St. Catharines, they meet and get married.
Yeah.
And they're still together. It's a remarkable story. And he gave us just...
she was the sister of his goalie.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
Well, it comes out in the interview.
Yeah.
It'll come out in the interview. Wait till you see this. This is a great interview. I'd like to tee it up. This is our Shooting the Shot, okay, a segment of the show, which is brought to you by the Patterson Group of Golf Courses, Cloverdale, Anderson, and Emerald Links.
That's right.
So
Thank you, Gib.
On behalf of the Patterson Group, this is Shooting the Shot with Hawes and Maguire, Ken Hodge. Sick. Hey, welcome to Offside with Hawes Maguire. I'm Hawes.
I'm Maguire.
And this is the segment we call Shooting the
Shot.
Shooting the Shot. And today we're shooting the shot with Bruins legend number 8, Ken Hodge.
Ken Hodge.
Wow, that's a big introduction.
I know I should have gone more. Liam knows more of the stats.
Yeah, well,
I got him upstairs. I'll be right back.
So we're here. Liam, why don't you actually introduce? You do the formal.
Well, you just introduced the show very succinctly.
You
Very
blew it
nice.
all now.
I did.
Oh, you did it. It's great. It's awesome. Chris has got us going into the show, and Ken, first of all, thank you for having us in your home. This is my God. It's absolutely gorgeous here, And yeah, look, for those of you who may not remember Ken Hodge because you're too young, because we're now dating ourselves, Chris, because we remember him. This is a guy who broke in with the Chicago Blackhawks, was in the big Phil Esposito deal of May 15, 67, which we'll talk more about later, which brought him to the Bruins, which really was the final piece of the puzzle. Bobby Orr had come in the year before. Boston still missed the playoffs. They pick up Esposito, Hodge, and Stanfield. The entire dynamic of the team changed. Within a couple years, they got their first Stanley Cup. 2 years after that, they've got their second. He has a 50-goal season. He scored 328 goals. He played over 880 games. He had 800 points. He had a 50-goal season, as I said. He played 97 playoff games with 79 points, Chris. And this is just unbelievably sitting here in his home, talking to, as you said, a legend. Not only that, on the line with Phil Esposito and Wayne Cashman, when they were put together the first year, they set what was then the all-time record for points by a line. This is what this man and his teams accomplished in his time before he went to the New York Rangers, where he finished his career. Not only that, his son got in the NHL. His sons all played hockey and involved in hockey at a high level, winning championships, East Coast Hockey League. His son playing in the NHL as well, as I mentioned, Ken Jr. And man, it's just a pleasure to be here, buddy.
Thank you. I'll leave now. Are we finished? No, it's great. Thanks for coming down.
Oh, this is just outstanding. I gotta ask you one thing right out of the gate, because you are the answer to a really neat anecdote. You are the first non-Canadian born player to have a 50-goal season because you were born in England.
And a 100-point season.
And a 100-point season. So can you please tell us where was your dad from England? Was it what's the process that had you born in England before I believe you moved to Toronto?
You want me to go through the whole born?
Liam didn't get to talk to his dad.
My dad was in the armed forces.
Okay.
Over in England, and Canadian, naturally, and met my mother, and they got together over in England, and I was born in England, and my mother came back to Toronto, Canada, basically with my younger brother, who she was expecting when she got to Toronto. So
Okay.
I was born in England
during
that period, and my brother was born in Toronto.
What age would you have been?
Oh my God, age, size-wise, I was premature when I was born. I was 3 pounds.
Oh.
Well, you filled in.
We didn't eat that well, but, yeah. But no, I was very lucky, very fortunate.
And are you a 42, 43 birth?
44.
44, 1944.
Yeah.
So right at the end of the war.
Right at the end of the war.
Right at the end of the war.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that's a bonus.
You know, you talk about the war in a period of time. So I don't recall that much being
Right.
in England and whatever, knowing what they went through or whatever. But
Yeah.
outside of listening to my mother talking about some of the bombings and some of the shelters and everything like that they had to be in, but it was a good time to come together.
But suffice to say, I didn't know. I actually didn't know that. And
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, I'm not known for my trivia knowledge.
No.
Right.
No.
But,
That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's very good on a lot of topics.
He's carving me. All the
I
time.
know, and I
It's
love
like-
it. This is
it's like-
great, man. Can you come with us, please?
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
We'll be the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
instead of
yeah,
Abbott
there
and
you go.
Costello.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I used to be. So
Well, I
we were
think
talking
that-
about,
well,
you know what? No, we started talking beforehand, before we went like live or anything. But you mentioned that your wife and yourself have been together for, if you don't mind if I mention, 62 years?
62 years.
62 years, which, if I'm doing the math, you were 18 years old.
Playing hockey in St. Catharines.
Right.
And how I met my wife basically was my brother-in-law was a goaltender at that time for the St. Catharines Blackhawks.
Right.
Okay.
And she would come to the game to watch her brother. She didn't know that I was going to be the future, her future.
Really?
And we got together and.
I have a question about that though,
Here
because
we go.
no, and because I know, I grew up with the guys who made the show, right, and each of them met their girlfriends and Jim Fox in grade school,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
but met them as young men before they had made it and what have you, and I've always wanted to ask how you feel about your success as you can attribute it to your partner being that solid base for you, or not, like, you know what I mean?
It's absolutely true. And listen, you don't raise 5 kids have all 5 healthy kids. I got 9 healthy grandchildren now.
Yeah.
And not have a good partner to take on a lot of the responsibility. I mean, we weren't home that much.
Yeah.
You know, we traveled by train and buses and everything like that back in the early days. So somebody had to be there to go to the hockey schools, the camps, the school, and whatever. And if you don't have a strong partner, you're in a lot of trouble.
And it was obviously before you were famous that you met.
Yeah.
So your fame, you know, certainly in the 70s, there was not I mean, to me anyway, was not a bigger line, right? And so if you were a hockey fan in the 70s,
Yeah.
you knew who Ken Hodge was. And if you were certainly in Boston in the 1970s,
Yeah.
right? And there must have been women throwing themselves at you.
Is this recorded? Is this being recorded?
No, you know,
This is at the point.
Mary.
This is at the point where Ron Duguay told us to turn
That's
it
right.
off.
He says, you know, and the story ends there.
He said to say hi to you, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
no,
to see you,
I did not mean it
I
in
know
that
what you
way.
meant.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
what you meant. But you know, yeah, there was opportunities, there were situations and whatever, but you know what?
Yeah.
I think Paul Newman had the greatest saying around. Why would I go out and have a steak when I got filet mignon at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
my relationship was tremendous. I mean, my wife and I give and take, and the kids and everybody. I mean, we were all hockey buddies. You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went to the rinks together and whatever. And certainly during that period of time in the Bruins, when we were in our 70s and doing what we were doing in the 60s and 70s, it was a great time to be in New England.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it was an honor to play in front of the Boston Bruins fans.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully. I mean, it was an honor to play in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a kid in Canada growing up and watching Stanley Cups and watching Toronto and watching Montreal and Detroit and,
Yeah.
you know, Chicago was basically coming along.
Yeah.
You know, until they got Bobby Hull and
Yeah.
then they got rid of Hodge and Esposito. So
That's right.
They went right
They
down
went
the
right
street.
back down
Well, that
again.
was,
Yeah.
that's
But
super.
you know, it was a great time. It was a great era. I mean, I'm proud to say that I was part of that Bruins era back in that time. And
Yeah.
we helped cultivate the game. We helped cultivate the game off the ice as well as on the ice. You know, hockey exploded. I mean, they were building hockey rinks all over the place in New England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
To get the
The youth involved,
youth
right?
involved.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was unique. It was different. It was a great time. I wouldn't
So-
change it for anything.
So as a father, as a grandfather,
Oh.
okay, no, you know, but so what do you see as the importance of the game? I mean, the game has gotten, some will say, out of hand. It's gotten too much about money or whatever.
Want me to tell you what we made? No.
No,
It wasn't money.
No, well, no, this is the thing. But it's gotten about, and even in the youth hockey, it's quite expensive.
Very expensive.
But what
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, your children and probably your grandchildren are going to be playing hockey or have played hockey in the past. Why is that? Why do you think it's important to play?
The players
hockey?
have to give back. They have to give back to the community, and they do. I think they do a great job. I mean, there's a lot more attention focused on them with their notoriety and
Yeah.
you know, everything going on in the game today. And it's the games. We got what, 32 teams in the National Hockey League?
Yeah.
So there's hockey everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, the South, the North, and East and West. I mean, everywhere. And I think it's great for the game. And the players. I mean, I know a lot of the players or whatever. I mean, we were just in Boston for the 100th centennial
Yeah.
celebration.
Yeah.
And those players couldn't have been so much more nicer than what they were.
Really. Eh?
And they did a great job. And you know, they
Yeah.
were respectful for us coming in to their territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back in the days when some of the older players would come back to the Boston Garden, the Boston in the Broom and whatever.
Yeah.
And you would sit there in awe. And of course, we had Milt Schmidt hanging over us all the
I
time.
know,
and
right, yeah.
Rudy Dumard. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the old names are just fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
the players were just respectful for them.
Did you ever meet Eddie Short?
No, something I played in Springfield.
Yeah.
I just met his grandson
Okay.
at the 100th centennial
Yeah, yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah.
I heard stories about Eddie. I've heard various stories about Eddie, but no, I never had the pleasure to
Okay,
meet him. I
okay.
met Doug Hardy at the end of his career.
Right, yeah.
Rocco Richard, and naturally Gordie Howe. I played against that guy.
Yeah, I know.
And,
I know.
You talk about a hard-nosed player.
Yeah.
A guy who was tough, you know, in all aspects of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but you know, it was a great era. I mean, I played against Henry Richard.
I know.
You know, and
Yeah.
you know, I sitting there at home and I say, you know, Dad, watching the Stanley Cup or watching the Montreal Canadiens and whatever in the young days or whatever, and
Yeah.
I say, oh, God, would that be something play against those gentlemen.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was just great.
And you made it. And you made it there and you
And
played.
you know, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I wonder if all the school teachers that when I missed school and they didn't go to class and whatever, they'd say, you know, I said I'm going to be a hockey player, and they said, nah, you'll never make it, whatever.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I made it, which I was very proud about, and so was my mom and my father were very happy.
Oh, well, that's well said. Look, you mentioned, you know, been married 62 years. I think are you 63 years knowing Phil Esposito?
Who's he? You had to, oh, wait a minute, you had to bring him up.
He tells the story, and he just told
He
us.
said we should ask the story how
yeah.
you first met.
Yeah. If you
the very
recall,
first time you ever met him.
he's got a very specific memory that he wonders if
He
you.
has a memory about everything.
Yeah.
I was 15 years old,
Yep.
and I was in St. Catharines, Ontario, at training camp for the, it was that time the St. Catharines TP.
The teepees. Yeah.
And before they evolved to become the Blackhawks. But anyhow, I'm in my room. I think I went to bed like at 9 o'clock at night or whatever. And all of a sudden I heard this banging on the damn door. We had a fire escape door. We were
Yeah. Hey.
And my
This is it.
roommate and I are just, what the hell is going on? So I, open the door, open the door. The Sioux Mafia came charging through the door. Curfews at the time were late. They were late coming in or whatever, and Phil came right across my bed, jumped up, thanks, Hodgie, and away he went to bed. 11 or 12 o'clock at night. They had been over in Buffalo, having a good time.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to Phil Esposito. I think he got sent home right after that.
I think he
back
said that
to the
too.
Sioux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
No, he did. He'd say he did get
Yep.
sent back, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't there to make the team at that period of our
Right.
time. Very
Yeah.
else we were there because we were owned by the Blackhawks.
Right.
And basically we were in the Blackhawks system.
Yeah.
And we just graduated up, and all of a sudden we got a chance to go to a tryout in St. Catharines, and that was it.
Yeah.
And went home after that and had a good exposure and a good time. And basically next year came back and made the team.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And we both, Phil and I, made the team at the same time. He played, I sat on the bench. Nothing's changed.
So, and now when you made it to the NHL, Phil was a few years ahead of you.
Oh, was
in
he
age.
ever? He was in St. Louis playing with the farm team.
Yeah, East
With
Pro
the-
Hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the
EPHL.
EPHL.
Yeah.
And
He tore it up there.
yeah, he
Tore
did.
it up.
But how did you feel going? Now, did you guys end up rooming together in Chicago when you
No,
when
no.
you guys got
He
together
roomed-
there?
I'm thinking, who did he room with? He might have roomed with. Gee, I don't even remember who Phil roomed with. But no, I had Elmer Vasco and Bobby Hull.
Oh,
They're my
geez.
two roommates in Chicago. The 2 years I was there.
Wow.
Really?
Moose Vasco and the Golden
Moose
Red.
Vasco.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you scored your first goal against Daddy Jackman,
Yeah.
and the Rangers, and I think December 29th, I believe it was, just after Christmas. I think in 1964.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
I
You know,
don't
but
remember. I don't even know the last one. Was not there. But
Bill Hay drew one of the assists.
Bill Hay was,
on,
Billy Hay was one of the first college graduates.
Yeah.
To play in the National Hockey League. I think the
Yeah.
University of Denver.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
And he won the Calder Trophy.
Anyone called for.
Rookie of the year. He was on the $1 million line.
And he was late. Yeah, Belfort, Holden,
Yeah.
and Hay.
Yeah.
And basically, he was late coming to training camp for some reason or whatever. Whether
Okay.
Contract dispute or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Eric Nestorenko got
Eric
the
Nestorenko.
primary assist
yeah.
on your
Eric
first goal.
Nestorenko. I mean, I was devastated in Chicago. I won the scoring championship in St. Catharines.
Yeah.
In the OHA at that time, which was the
league.
big
Yeah.
the big league.
Yeah.
And I felt I had a place, a position. I scored 63 goals in my last year of junior hockey, and I felt, oh boy, I'm going to jump right into the lineup. I had Kenny Warm, Eric Nestorenko, and Chico Mackey. Well, Chico Mackey was solid because he was the defensive player on the Hull and Esposito line.
Yeah.
You had Kenny Warm playing with Makita and Moans.
Yeah.
And you had Eric Nestorenko playing with Billy Hay and
Yeah.
whoever.
Whoever else, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I figured, maybe it was a little cocky,
Yeah.
thinking that I deserved a lot more of a shot in Chicago.
Yeah.
And the trade came, and I was devastated.
Were you really?
I was really going to a last place team.
Yeah, true.
And we had just
Yeah.
won the
Prince of Wales.
Prince of Wales
Yeah,
trophy.
yeah.
The first time in Chicago they won it because they had the Muldoon.
The Muldoon
curse,
Curse, 50 years, 40 years it lasted.
something like that.
40
And,
years.
they
Yep.
won it, and I think, gee, now I've got a place to, I'm gonna. All of a sudden I wake up and what? March, Hodge traded to Boston. I'm going, oh boy. Boston,
Yeah,
a perennial cellar dweller.
yeah.
And, them and the Rangers were fighting for
Last every
fifth
year.
or sixth place.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And that was a year of expansion and whatever.
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't go someplace else. But
Yeah,
went to Boston. We had training camp in London, Ontario. And it's a good thing. A blessing about being traded is you're going with people that you know.
yeah,
Esposito and Stanfield. We came up in the Blackhawk system
Yep.
all together.
yep,
And so it made it a little easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I got there was a guy there that they had just traded Murray Alper for from Toronto, Eddie Shack.
Eddie Shack. Oh my
And
God.
I'm going,
Yeah.
we'd be going around this way in the warm-up, and Shacky'd be going the other way. So you talk about keeping your head up during warm-up.
Yeah, really.
But he was a great fit for the Boston Bruins. He became a character.
Yeah,
He became somebody that kept us light and loose
Yeah.
in the locker room.
do you remember him and Zidell?
I wasn't there then. Oh yes, we were in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
And him
yeah.
and Shacky went at it.
Yeah,
But anyhow, it was a good time. It was good fit. Teddy Green was just coming off a serious injury.
yeah,
His knee was going bad, and Bobby was Bobby.
yeah,
Bobby was coming into his own. It just meshed. It just fit together. We had a guy by the name of Tommy Williams.
yep,
Was our left winger,
yep.
a right-handed shot playing left wing with us.
Was he American?
Yeah, he was
yeah,
American. He was
yeah.
on the 80 team of Squad Valley.
That's right, yeah. The 60 team, yeah,
And
1960. yeah.
basically, Derek Sanderson was
Yeah.
at the training camp, and
Yeah.
Turk was just coming. Derek was just becoming Derek,
Yeah,
and it worked out. It worked out to be great. Whoever put the lines together, whoever come up with the ideas of fitting this person with that person.
yeah,
I mean, great. I give Harry Simmons a tremendous amount of credit.
no question.
But I give Mill Schmidt the biggest credit of all.
Yeah.
Making that deal.
Yeah.
How he made that deal with Chicago, I don't know.
Highway robbery.
Well, at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
You never know what a trade's going to do until the end.
No, I know.
Till it fits, till things
Yeah.
start working out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Marat, Norris, and Martin. I mean, I guess Pitt Martin is the key going the other way.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that point, Phil in Chicago was starting to come into his own. Like we
was
just
he?
talked about
Yeah,
this with
yeah,
him.
yeah.
You know, and it seemed I was too young to appreciate what that would have meant at that time. But years later, I thought, like Bobby Hull, God rest his soul, became a very good friend of mine. And to the day he died, it's the worst trade in Chicago history. Like, it just ripped the heart right out of him losing you guys.
and I hated the role I played in Chicago as a policeman or somebody who was a
Yeah.
big, strong guy or whatever. And it just, that was not what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I thought I had a gift. I thought I had a gift. I mean, I certainly was not as gifted as the players are today in the game. I mean, the puck was square after I finished stick handling with it.
Yeah, I don't know, Ken. I think you're being pretty humble there, buddy.
Yeah.
You're picking up 50 goals on 100 points.
Yeah, and
you know.
20. I remember when 20 goals was
That was,
Yeah.
that
was a
was
great-
the measuring stone.
that was
Yeah.
the measuring stone.
Yeah.
You got 20 goals and you wanted to quit. You didn't want to get 21 or 22 because they wanted 24, 25.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember we used to talk about somebody, he had a 30-goal season. And that was like you know what I mean,
my
over
God.
the top.
Yeah,
And
it's
so I mean, and how many times did you hit 20 goals?
Jeez.
That's a tough question.
That's
Probably maybe 10 or 12 times.
yeah, at least
Yeah.
At
So there
least
you go.
10. Yeah.
You were
Scored
you were,
328 times.
That's what, no, that's what I'm saying.
All on my
Is that-
backhand too, by the way.
No, but you know, you did have a skill. I mean,
He proved it.
and certainly in Boston, from my record, I mean, from being a fan, I never thought of you as a bruiser. I always thought of you as a part of the goal scoring line. Like I never really looked at it from that way, and I have no recollection of any time
we
in
developed
Chicago.
an identity in Boston.
The Big Bad Bruins.
Big Bad Bruins,
Yeah.
one for all for one.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
at that time you could empty the bench and get into an altercation
Yeah.
or whatever. If somebody, Bobby Orr was hurt or Esposito was hurt,
Yeah.
charge over the wheel.
Yeah.
And we intimidated a lot of teams.
Yes, you did.
And especially in that building.
Yeah.
It was so damn small, the ice surface was so small, and we were so we were probably the biggest line in hockey at one time.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Phil called us the fat line. I don't believe Phil meant that, but anyway, he called us the fat line. But anyhow, we could intimidate people coming into our building. So it was almost a 1 or 2 goal deficit for that team coming in to play us. And we'd be sitting there licking our chops waiting for a team to come in, especially expansion teams. You know, Minnesota, LA, Oakland, you know, whoever it was.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a good era. It was a good time to be associated with the Bruins and the building of the team and building character and building a rapport that, you know, we weren't going to be pushed around.
No,
And
definitely
I think that's
not.
one of the things that Milt Schmidt did when he brought Eddie Shack in and he brought in some of the other players he brought in to fit into the mold that he was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, even a guy like Ace Bailey, you know, he didn't take any crap from anybody.
And you know, it was contagious.
Yeah.
If it was you, Chris, or you would just feel strength because the other guy beside you was going to back you up.
Yeah.
If you got in trouble, we were all there together.
Yeah, like I'm a couple of years older than Chris, so those are very formative years for me. And I remember you as being pretty freaking tough. I mean, you think of the wingers, Hodge and Cashman. Like,
No. But what I'm saying is that the first thing when you hear Ken Hodge, you don't think Dave Semenko.
No,
right?
No, but you know what you think? It's the expression that wasn't used then, but became a thing 15 years later. It's a power forward.
Yes.
That's what you were.
You take Philadelphia, Broadway goalies, you take these, they modeled themselves after us.
100%.
Absolutely.
100% they did.
People became bigger, stronger.
Yeah.
At one time, I mean, you had to be fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Montreal Canadiens.
Sure, fire wagon hockey in the 50s. If you didn't have speed. Yeah.
And that was the way the game was.
Yeah.
It just evolved, it changed.
It did. And before you guys, really, to be perfectly honest, you want to talk historically, it was the Leafs of the early 60s were absolutely ferocious physically. They never finished first in the league. They routinely won Stanley Cups because they were the Conn Smythe Adam from the 40s. You can't beat them in the alley, you can't beat them on the ice. And they had 6 or 7 guys that were good to go. And you guys morphed into that. I don't think Milt or the Brain Trust copied the Leafs per se, but you became the big bad Bruins. And look,
I think Milt had that idea.
Yeah.
And he knew what he needed. He needed some size. Not that Pitt Martin was small or Marat was small, but you had Bobby Orr and Gilles Marat. The two weren't going to fit together.
No.
You know, so you had to get one. You weren't going to get rid of number 4.
No.
So it was a lot easier to get rid of the other guy, and there was a market for him.
Yeah.
And Milt made the deal, and him and Tommy Ivan got together, and they, you know, whether I was a throw-in or Freddie was a throw-in, who the hell cares?
Yeah, who
He
cares?
was just happy to be there.
It's 3 for 3 at the end of the day. It was 3 bodies coming, 3 bodies
that was the way
going.
it was.
Yeah.
You know, back when you made a trade, it was 3 for 3. It wasn't 3 for 2 or 2
No.
for 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But things have changed in the game today.
Things have changed for sure.
Well, we were talking about that. Is you no longer build a team with players. You build a team with salaries. Right?
Yeah.
Well, they have the salary cap now. And
Now
you
with the
gotta
cap,
play
yeah.
within
Play
that.
within
But that's
that.
in all sports.
Yeah, it is.
Football, baseball, hockey, football, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They have a salary cap now that you have to learn to live with and play within.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. I haven't asked anybody else this, but when you watch hockey now and you watch your son play, you ever sit back and go, I can do it better?
No.
No.
I'll tell you, when I watched my son Kenny play, his skill level was a lot higher than mine. I mean, truthfully, he could do things because the game had evolved and changed, and the skill level of players was changing rapidly. And I got a son who's a defenseman. He played Merrimack College, and he was drafted by the Bruins or whatever, and ended up in the farm system, whatever. But a big, bruisey guy or whatever, 240 pounds or whatever. And, you know, Kenny was just the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, and my youngest son, Brendan, had great skills, but he could do all those things or whatever, and I'd be sitting there, you guys are crazy, I can't do that. And we got to play together in the alumni game back in Boston, whatever. And that's where I had a lot of fun.
I guess.
That's where I had a lot more fun having the 3 of them on the ice with me and whatever. It was a blast. It was a blast.
Yeah, I guess so.
A lot of fun.
What about Bobby Orr? I mean, Robert Gordon Orr. I mean, you come, like you said, you were a last place team. You came there, you were disappointed in the trade. That was pretty interesting to hear you say that way. That was neat. But when now you're seeing Bobby, and now you're seeing him, he's a teammate, he's in the dressing room, you're getting to know him, and you see what he's doing on the ice over that next 1 or 2 or 3 seasons as you guys just climbed all the way to the top.
Remember, I played junior hockey against Bobby.
Right, of course.
In Oshawa
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I never had the appreciation of his talent level until you got to play with him, and you saw the things one-on-one that he would do with the puck and how he controlled the game and how he changed the game. The role of a defenseman was don't go over the blue line at one time.
Yeah.
And you stay back.
Yeah.
I mean, he just took it to another level.
Yeah.
And just a great player.
Yeah.
And a great human being on and off the ice.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, no, he is that for sure. And you guys win that Stanley Cup in 1970, and his goal is immortalized of all time.
Did Phil ever tell you the story about that?
No.
We're going into overtime with St. Louis. And we're sitting in the locker room. Phil's over on the other side. Derek and Phil are sitting together. Johnny Busey, Esposito, and Sanderson. Hodge is over there with Donnie Rory. I don't know who was on the left. Ron Murphy's on the left side. And I'm waiting for Harry to come out with the lineup. Who's going on the ice? We're all thinking, shit, we're going to go on the ice. Phil and Ken and Cashman. We're going to start the game and we're going to get the first goal. Harry comes in and he announces the lineup. Westfall, Sanderson,
Wayne Carlton.
and Wayne Carlton. And you're sitting there,
What?
what did he just say? And Sanderson turns to Phil, don't worry, Phil, I'll get the first goal. Phil looks at you like, hell you will. Sure enough, 30 seconds into the game, bing, bang, boom, gone.
Yeah.
I mean, just
in OT. Yeah, in
OT.
overtime. Yeah.
And we just, but that's Harry sitting in the room. And Harry's philosophy was they were going to put their top line out.
Right.
And he wanted to put his defensive line out,
Yeah.
which was Sanderson, Carlton, and Westphal.
And Eddie. Yeah.
It's hard to believe Derek Sanderson as on a defensive line.
But he
Against
was.
so much
He
skill.
was.
But he was.
Nobody could beat him on the face. He was a
No.
great face.
Unbelievable in the draws. And him and Westfall penalty killing.
Absolutely the best.
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
one, too.
Yeah.
And,
But what he could do with the puck, though, I always thought he was the first time. And I still do this. I still make this play with the whole behind the back pass, but a forward pass, but behind his back. I saw him do it in a game, and I thought, I got to do that. I got to learn how to do that.
How many kids do you think in Boston were emulating Bobby Orr flying through the air?
Yeah.
In street hockey.
Thousands upon thousands. I bet you.
I can tell you one thing. They did it in Coniston too.
Yeah. They were.
We did it there.
Everywhere.
We did it everywhere.
It was-
Oh,
it was-
yeah,
I mean, they show
absolutely.
that highlight film all the time.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best goals ever
Yeah.
scored in a dramatic fashion. of all
Oh,
time.
without question.
You got that in the NHL, and you got Henderson in the Summit Series, and those two got, like, from an international point of view, and you got Bobby's from the NHL point of view. Both, I mean, Henderson goal come with 34 seconds to go, and what it meant for the series and the month and everything else. And Bobby's, like you said, to win the Stanley Cup, and then Noel Picard gives him a little bit of a helping hand, and
Glenn Hall tells a story. He says when they're doing a signing together, him and Picard and Oregon. He says, Bobby, did you ever score any other goals?
yeah, that's right. That's right. I heard that before. That's such a good line.
Just great.
I mean, Glenn Hall.
Bobby Orr, great goal, and I'm a huge fan, and I have it. It's in my office. You've seen it.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. What was your favorite goal that you ever scored? That you remember and you go,
Geez, that's
I got a great story to tell you a little bit about scoring goals. We're playing New York in the playoffs, and I'm having a great series. I got to score a hat trick against the Rangers.
Yep. The 72.
And all of a sudden, right, overtime comes. Ace Bailey jumps off the bench, scores a winning goal, goes around Brad Carr, scores a winning goal, gets the top headlines. I scored 3 damn goals, he gets 1, and Ace Bailey wins the game. I mean, I mean, those are anecdotes. I mean, those are things that you have fun with and whatever. But no, you know something? I don't think there's one goal that I really honestly remember in a dramatic fashion. I mean, you can't compare that to the Orr goal or any of the goals that Esposito got or whatever. But I'm just very, very fortunate. I was blessed in a certain way that I could put the puck in the net, and that was a talent. That's what I had. I couldn't offer any more.
listen, Ken, this humility that you're giving off, it's just not working. We're going to have to end this interview.
telling you the truth, and you're lying about it. Come on. But no, I don't know. I don't think there's one particular moment. It's certainly winning the Stanley Cup. Certainly the playoffs in '72, when I think we as a team hated to lose the game in Boston, but then go to New York and win it in New York was a little more satisfying, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think as a group, as a team, as a bunch of guys, the camaraderie that was in that locker room, you just wanted to be there. There would be a rush to get to practice to see what was going on in the locker room.
No kidding.
Really, eh?
Wow.
That's how close and tight we were.
Yeah.
In that locker room.
Yeah.
And that was our sanctuary. And I'm not saying this to be, but there was no women allowed in the locker room.
Yeah.
And we just, that was our sanctuary.
Yeah.
And we became friends with the reporters and all that,
Yep.
and whatever.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I think women are doing one hell of a job
Yep.
in professional sports today, and
Yep.
I commend them for that, but that was the sanctuary. We weren't really trained,
Yeah.
or at least helped in breaking the barrier of having women come in the locker. They just came in,
Yeah.
and we're scattering for towels, and those times
Yeah.
the towels looked like face cloths.
Yeah.
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 But it was just great, the camaraderie of that team. And I got to give a guy like Teddy Green a lot of credit.
Yeah.
When I came to Boston, they took the C away from Johnny Busick.
Yeah.
And it was Westfall, I believe it was Westfall, Esposito, Teddy Green, and Chief. They had 4 A's and
4 A's. Yeah.
And Chief got the C back the next year or whatever. But anyhow, Teddy Green was the type of guy. You don't fool with Teddy. Teddy
No.
was
He was
the anchor.
very
He was
tough.
tough.
Very,
He
very
was
tough. Yeah.
And he overcame a lot of injuries and everything.
Well, 69 in Ottawa, that exhibition game. Mackey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woody Mackey was my teammate in
And St.
St.
Catharines.
Catharines.
Yeah.
and I was in the hospital having my appendix out when that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, in London, it's having my appendix out, so I didn't get to see it or
Right.
witness it or whatever. But
Right.
when I heard about it, I was devastated.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I
And
don't
Teddy
think-
came back from that.
He came back, but he was never
He
never
never-
the Teddy Green.
No. No.
And then he jumped to the World Hockey
WHA.
League.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Hartford Whalers.
You had a teammate at that time period. Well, a few of those guys. I've gotten to know Don Rory very well. Obviously Phil. But you had another guy back then who's become a really, really, really good friend of mine, Rick Smith.
I don't know.
Killing me here. Killing me.
Who? Just with Ricky, we just had the centennial.
Yeah.
He was there and whatever. And it's a great, good teammate.
Yeah.
Good, solid player.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy about him or
No.
whatever. Just a good, solid player.
Yeah.
And a good teammate.
Yeah.
And a good friend.
And a good friend, eh? He does a ton with the Sens alumni.
He does?
Yeah.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah. He lives outside of town, but halfway sort of between Ottawa and Kingston.
Yeah.
So he comes to a lot of the events. Well, for many years he played.
Yeah.
He continued to play, but
Yeah.
since he comes to the golf tournaments and things of that nature in the
He just
summer.
played hockey with my son in the alumni
Did he?
game back in Boston.
Oh, he did, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's a
Dude,
beauty.
I was doing it. He's in great shape.
He is. He stayed in shape.
He's
Yeah.
late 60s.
Yeah. 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 Because he came out of the Red
Or maybe
Wings.
70s. He early 70s.
He was.
Because he was on the 70 team.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
gotta-
Because originally he was Red Wing property.
Yep.
Because he played in Hamilton.
Right.
You must have played junior against him too.
I don't think so.
No? Did you miss playing junior against him?
I
Okay.
hated that form rink in Hamilton. Oh, my
Oh, yeah,
God.
eh?
The pillars were hanging over the boards.
Yeah.
The steels. Oh, before they padded them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great
It's
experience.
crazy.
We had some.
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
man. Unbelievable. So Chris, I just ask a
No,
question.
yeah,
Chris,
I
Chris, you
I
can-
would like to monopolize this. whole thing.
Can I sit over here? Let me sit beside Chris. Poor guy.
He can jump in anytime,
No,
but
listen, I'm just happy. That's it. Like, you know what?
And that's without a brew.
Well, I had a whiskey sour before I came.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah.
he did a little something
Yeah.
Primus
Yeah,
pump there.
it's-
So,
Oh, boy.
well, that's his drink of choice, by the way.
Whiskey sour?
Whiskey sour. That is his absolute drink of choice, which I,
With an umbrella.
you know,
Oh,
yeah, he
yeah.
prefers the
And a
umbrella. Not
cherry,
so much.
probably a cherry and an umbrella.
I want to ask you about Bobby Hull, because it's a unique opportunity to talk to you about guys that you played with and certainly against as well. And you shared some great stuff about Bobby Orr and talked about Phil. how far back you guys go, but Bobby Hull in Chicago, when you were there, you come up as a rookie. I mean, him and Stan had to be larger than life.
Larger than life.
Can you share anything about either dressing room or after games, post games, some of the frivolity? I mean, we all know, well, when I say we all know, so many people know what the guy did on the ice. It was legendary. But what was he like? What was he like for you off the ice?
A great mentor.
Yeah?
A great mentor to the game, to me, and what it meant the game meant to him. He would hold a bus up for crying out loud for half an hour and an hour. We'd be pulling them to get him on the bus for crying out loud.
So those stories are true.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, listen, we all know some of the stuff we heard.
Yeah.
What went on and,
Yeah.
and whatever.
Yeah.
So you know what? I remember the good things.
Yeah.
I remember the Bobby Hull that was a mentor to me.
Yeah.
Took me under his wing when I came to the Blackhawks, and really helped me find my way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I played against him when I was in Boston, and I'll tell you, he was a competitor.
Yeah.
And a tough competitor, but a great human being, a good guy, and whatever.
Yeah.
And after he was finished, I mean, we stayed in touch. He was at my house, and I got to tell you a funny anecdote about it. We're sitting around. We just had steaks and lobsters or whatever at the house. And Bobby Hull was doing an appearance.
Yeah.
And we're sitting around the dining room table, and I said, Bobby, we can't go anywhere. We've had a couple of beers and some wine, and we're going to just sit and relax and whatever. He said, okay. He said, and I got my young son there, Brendan, and he's looking at Brett Hull's father. He's looking up at his eyeballs like this big, and I'm going, yeah, this is Mr. Hull. He says, yeah. And Bobby says, yeah, I guess we're going to stay here. He reaches up, takes his damn hair off.
No.
Puts it on the table. Even my hair is tired. He says, I'm not going to do that. My son Brendan's eyes went boing. Bobby was just, Bobby was Bobby. You know, and he made you feel comfortable and made you feel part of the scene. It wasn't just about Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
You know, if you were there with him or whatever, this is Ken Hodge, or this is Phil Esposito,
Yeah.
this is Wayne Chico Mackey. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, he made you feel part of the group,
Yeah.
and you know, didn't leave you out there on the ledge waiting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but he was just a great guy. It was good to me. I had no complaints.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I said to Phil
Uh-oh.
when we left, but on camera, because you and Phil are both indirectly responsible for Wayne Gretzky wearing number 99.
How would I do that?
Because Phil got you to wear 88. And he
Thanks.
got John Davidson to wear 00.
Thanks, you had to remind me.
I'm sorry about that. I don't think it was necessarily a...
hit him.
It'll happen later.
He did. Yeah.
Is this not a true story? Because Phil couldn't get 7. He came over in the trade in 75. Preceded you. You came in 76, right? You for Middleton. Phil had come over. Zanussi, Rattel, Park, right? So Phil gets 12, 5. He's pissed off. Can't get 7. Gilbert's got it, obviously. Rod's not giving it up. His career's winding down. Phil goes, he's telling us a story that it was the trainer or somebody said, go the double digit.
Yeah.
Now, the story goes, and this is why I'm asking you, for clarification for the first time, did he go to you and ask you to wear, allegedly he was so superstitious that he went and asked you to go to a double 8?
You're putting me on the spot. Yes, he did.
Okay.
He asked John Davidson and myself.
Right.
And Steve Vickers.
Right, who were 8, yeah,
Or
Sarge, yeah.
New York or whatever. And probably
Yeah.
Steve would have given it up to me if I really pushed or wanted it or whatever.
Yeah.
But the number was just, as far as I know, it was a number.
Yeah.
You know, it's still number 8 in Boston until Cam Neely came. But
Right.
anyhow,
Yeah.
it was just a number. I could have cared less if I had 10 or 12 or whatever. Back in the old days, you know, they never went to double digits unless you were, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
And, the goaltenders wore 30.
Yeah.
And basically, it was whatever was there.
Because this is when Gretzky's in the suit, and he can't get 9. He always wore 9, and he couldn't get it. Being worn by a veteran named Brian Gulazzi, wouldn't give it up to him. So it was Bumbaco,
Gino.
Yeah.
Gene Babacco.
I think, and who said to him, why don't you do what Esposito and Hodge are doing in New York? You want to wear 9? Wear 99.
Absolutely. I think a lot of that is fabricated because I think a lot of it came from Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
He wanted number 9 to emulate.
He wanted 9, yeah, because he wore 9 his entire minor hockey career.
Right.
The exception of his first season. Talking about Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne's very, 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 very first year of hockey wore number 11. Then he went to 9, and he wore 9 all the way through until, and even other than we had the 3-game stint in Peterborough as a protect at 15, and then he went to the Sioux at 16, and he couldn't get 9.
Yeah.
And he was suggested to go to 99 because of Phil Esposito and Ken Hodge in
Well,
New York.
don't forget that Lemieux went to 66.
66.
He went to flipped the number.
Flipped them over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of anecdotes.
Well,
like
I
that.
know it's just an anecdotal thing. It's like you being the first non-Canadian to score 50. It's anecdotal, but it's still historical.
Chris, when have you learned all these good words? You've done well in that car.
Well, you know what? I have to coach
Did he have a
him.
whiskey,
I coach
whiskey
him.
sour?
No, he's only on pints.
I'm on-
Liam he's got what most clinical descriptions would be a real problem.
Here we go.
Problem.
Here we go.
It's like,
Here we go. I don't feel it's a problem at all.
We were on a plane, so we were lucky because we get on a plane, and both Liam has boyish exuberance. I don't know if you've noticed. Okay, and I.
I'm glad you're sitting beside him.
Yes, well, so we're on the plane, which of course gets canceled, right?
Yeah.
But we're on the plane and we have to sit and we're waiting, and so luckily we kind of charm the stewardess,
The flight attendant.
the flight attendant. I still call them stewardess.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Okay, because my fantasy, she's a stewardess.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
So, and so we charm her. Is there any chance, since we're waiting, you can get us a couple beer? So the whole plane, there's 300 people on the plane, sweating, waiting, frustrated about this, and Liam and I.
These two Canadian. That used to
Canadian
be,
snapping cans.
that used to be the funniest sound at the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Is that, well,
The pint opening. Yeah.
What was that?
that's so yeah. No, Liam, he gets his vocabulary and his phraseology
There you
all
go.
from alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's what I think.
Well, I know a lot of guys that got that same thing.
Yeah.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Whatever floats your boat.
Ken, we won't keep you too much longer, but
I'm staying the night.
are you? Great.
There's
I'll
all
tell you.
kinds of beds upstairs.
Tell you, this is just such a beautiful home. While we were setting up, you and Chris were talking, and you were talking about that rivalry with the Rangers, and how I wonder if you on camera could go over that a little bit, just about, because you were telling Chris this wasn't just a rivalry, just spell it out rivalry, just how brutal it was between you guys.
Well, both of our teams were basically identically built. Okay, except we had Orr, they had Park.
Yeah.
And they had some great defensemen. They had some good points. They had 2 lines.
Yeah.
We had 2 lines.
Yeah.
They had a defensive line, and we had a defensive line. So basically, we were compared together
Yeah.
as far as,
Even the
that was-
goaltending was
Even the goaltending
Yeah.
was comparable.
Jackman and Vilmir,
And we had
Pops and
Johnson-
Cheesy.
we had Johnson and Cheesy. I
Yeah.
mean, and there was a love-hate relationship. We respected them,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to lose to them.
Yeah.
You know, we just hated them to come into our building or us to go into their building, and they probably felt the same way
Oh, no
going
doubt.
into their building.
Yeah.
That there was no love lost between us.
Yeah.
And we wanted to beat them, and not only just beat them, we wanted to really
Yeah.
beat them.
Yeah.
And it was a time evolved thing, because back originally the Bruins and the Rangers were fighting for last spot
I know.
in the 16
Boy,
schedule.
boy, did that turn around.
And that turned around or whatever. Well, expansion helped. or
Yeah, for
whatever,
sure.
or 67 or whatever. But basically, we just built a dislike for each other.
Like Ken, in that playoff game in '71, when Hadfield threw Plant's mask into the crowd, and Derek and Hadfield went at it, you guys had not one, but 2 bench clearing brawls in the same game against them.
Somebody had a rubber chicken
Yeah.
and threw it at Derek. He was in the penalty box or whatever. All over the boards we went, whatever. Today, you couldn't do that.
No.
You couldn't do it.
No.
Somebody would have got a foot stepped on, or somebody would have got injured
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
They talk about the Milbury thing when you hit somebody.
I know, with the
a
shoe. Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a big lawsuit and whatever.
Yeah.
And you can't, the National Hockey League has really come down on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
want to
for
sell the
sure.
sport.
No,
They
I know.
They don't
yeah.
want to sell the.
Yeah.
Remember back in when they used to have was it CBS or NBC,
Oh, the Sunday game of the week?
and they had the Hannaberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Peter
yeah.
Puck.
Yeah.
Big
Peter
bad
Puck.
Puck, yeah.
You know, and they wanted to get away from that.
Yeah.
They wanted to change the image of the game, I believe, and they've done.
Yeah.
And now you can just see with skating outside and doing the Winter Classic and stuff like that, how the game has evolved.
Yeah.
And how people, when you get 60, 70,000 people at a game,
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be happy to get 15, 17,000 into the Garden.
I know.
Right.
And you get 70,000 people. I mean, I was on the ice for an alumni game at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Prior to the Bruins playing a game. And I'll tell you, it was just excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really excitement. It was fun to be part of it. And now I know how these young guys feel.
Well, and that leads me to ask a question because
I thought he was going to ask the last one.
I got several other questions. No, and
we won't keep you much longer.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, yeah, but it just made me think of something that Ron Duguay had mentioned, and Ron Duguay said one of the things that he misses is the crowds, right? And playing in front of the crowds is a very different experience than me playing in my men's league.
Okay.
You know, no,
Wow.
but
I
do
gotta
you
tell
miss
you,
it? Do you miss it?
I can recall being in the Boston Garden and seeing the fans every night, the same people.
Same people.
The same people around
Yeah.
this and you'd be waving to them, you'd talking to them, whatever, and you became friends with them. We'd go out to dinner after the game, the same people would be at the restaurant we were at or whatever, and we'd go over the game, and they'd be buying us a drink, and we'd give them dinner and whatever. I don't think I ever paid for a drink in Boston, until I went with Phil.
They didn't
You
pay
heard that,
double.
Phil?
Yeah, we'll make sure he sees that.
But the crowd meant a lot. The support we got from the crowd, and knowing that the team, needed that burst of energy, and the fans were just tremendous. I mean, as I said earlier on, it was an honor for me to play in the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
With those fans. Yeah, sure. Some of the fans gave you a lot of crap,
Yeah.
but nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, you got the support and the adulation of the fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we never had a losing season in Boston or whatever.
No.
So it made it even
Sure.
nicer when you left the building.
Yeah. Well, you're winning cups, going to finals, winning the majority of your games. And you think of 71, it's not even any of those discussions. Look at your regular season; it's insane. 399 goals, 37 team
I
records.
think that was a devastating loss in '71.
Yeah,
That made us built up for the '72.
For 72, yeah,
And
yeah.
Granted, our nemesis wasn't part of it. I mean, Montreal lost out in the '70 series, and they lost it in the '72 series.
The Rangers beat Montreal in
Yeah.
72.
So,
You're
we never
right.
had to face the Bruins
No,
or the Rangers.
the Habs.
The Habs.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
Let's just say the Leafs.
Well,
where were they? I mean, I remember a game in Boston. I felt bad for Johnny Gower. I think we won like 7-0 or 8-0 or something in the first two games of the series in '70.
yeah, yeah,
And I really felt bad for Bauer.
yeah.
Really, and punch him like was behind the bench and whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was 69. That was the Forby Kennedy. Well, that's when Tim Horton hit, when Pat Quinn hit Bobby Orr
Yeah.
and started World War III. And then Forby and Johnny McKenzie fought like 17 times.
And they were friends,
And they were friends. I know.
They were friends on the
I
Bruins
know.
team.
I know.
Excellent friends.
Well, Forby played in Boston at one point. I mean, I know Pi moved around too, right? In Chicago, Bruin, but. Yeah, the rivalry though, and I'm so glad you touched on it because that Boston-New York rivalry gets people talk Battle of Alberta, Battle of New York, Montreal, Quebec, and they all deserve their accolades in that sense. Not accolades, but description.
Yeah.
But you and New York in your time period was vicious.
That was our love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
We respected them,
Yeah.
and yet we didn't want to lose them.
Well, and I think we also discussed it was off camera, but that the rivalries in cities, you don't get tougher people than New York, Boston. Like there's some.
That's
If you're from
pretty
East
tough.
Boston,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. You're
Yeah.
from New York. You get some guys from the Bronx.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ready to hate the
And
guys
don't,
from
forget, and don't forget the buildings were a lot different. The buildings were built straight up and down.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
second balcony, they were leaning over the
Right
ice.
over,
They
yeah.
could throw anything they
Yeah.
wanted at you or whatever.
Yeah.
But
How far did you live from the rink, the Boston Garden?
Oh.
Did,
15, 20 minutes?
but most of the guys
On
in-
the North Shore. We all lived, I think basically, I'd say the majority of all
Majority?
lived in the North Shore.
Yeah.
Because the South Shore, the commute coming in would have been
Yeah.
terrible, coming
Okay.
into the garden.
Right.
And I think Phil tried that the first year here, and Freddie Stanfield lived in Braintree,
Yeah.
where we were in the Saugus area in the North Shore, whatever. And he ended up coming up to the North Shore too.
Yeah. Phil was telling us.
Oh, here's
No, this is a good one. No, this is easy. He was just saying. Well, Chris and I are asking him about when you guys won the cup, and asked about putting it over his head, and Phil said, "I never did." You know, Clarence Campbell called the chief out. Busick
That was
took,
it.
took the cup,
Went around the ice, went in the locker room.
and then you guys went in the locker room.
Yep.
Like,
There was nothing like that there's today.
Yeah.
I mean, the pictures and everything that guys do today on the ice of celebration.
do you remember in either 70 or 72 how the, not all the details, but do you remember how the party was? Do you remember where you went or where the team went on either occasion or?
In 1970, we won the cup, and everything was in the locker room. The
Right.
festivities, and the wives were in the Celtics locker room,
Okay.
right next to us or whatever. And we never got to share back and forth or whatever.
Okay.
And the beer would become, champagne was awful. Have you ever had champagne? I mean, it just burns
Yeah.
your eyes.
Yeah.
We were a beer crew, and Budweiser was one of the biggest sponsors. They were bringing bottled beer down from the second floor
Okay.
to the locker room in cases, and we had a celebration, and that's basically all we did. I mean, you know, my parents, my dad, and I think all the families were in the locker room.
Really?
Yep. My dad was there, my son, Phil's father, Eddie
Yeah.
Westfall's father, brothers. I mean, it was just Derek Sanderson's father. I mean, it was just a congested area.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we're all just celebrating. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a dream.
Yeah.
You know, when you grow up in Canada and you see the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs
Yeah.
and Detroit, where everybody's winning, and all of a sudden you get part of that celebration.
Yeah.
And the cup was, you know, just great. You know.
Similar in 72. Similar.
Oh yeah, we were in New York when we won the cup.
You were in New York. You're on the road.
So
yeah.
we really didn't
Yeah.
do much, and we had a charter back.
Yeah.
And we went to the Branding Iron, which was a Bobby Orr restaurant in Boston, and our wives would be meeting us there or whatever. But there was
Okay.
bedlam at the airport.
Oh yeah.
Eastern Terminal was just a mob scene. They were taking the monitors off the wall, and it was just crowded. It was jammed. How they got word that we were coming in on the charter?
Yeah. Really. No cell phones or nothing to let you know.
God, it was just unbelievable.
Wow.
And then we had to go through the tunnel to get to the bar.
Really.
And
And it was called the Branding Iron.
it was the Branding Iron. Bobby Orr had an affiliation with George Page,
Okay.
and Bobby hosted the party along with George Page. at
Really?
the Branding Iron.
Ah.
And we're all there. Then
Was
we
it-
got up the next morning.
Yeah.
After that celebration, we had to go to City Hall
Okay.
and
For the parade.
for the parade.
Yeah.
And we had no parade back in that time. We went right to City Hall.
Okay.
We're on the balcony in '72.
Yeah.
We're on the balcony in '72. That's the time when Johnny McKenzie threw the beer over the mayor's head.
Oh. Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I mean, we could get away with a lot. Believe
Yeah.
me. Believe me, it was a good era to be a part of the Bruins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but there was thousands of people. We were sitting on the balcony of the City Hall outside, looking at this throng of people. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
We didn't have the parade that year. In '70, we had the parade, and it was jammed.
Yeah. Bedlam. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
deadly. There was no organization. There was
Yeah.
no organization. You were just in the convertible riding through, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And we got there, and you know, I was just so happy to be part of it. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'm still hungover from the night before, along with everybody else.
And I gotta go out on a limb and say
And-
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And Eddie Westfall, in 1970, he worked for Carling's Brewery.
Okay.
And he had beer made up with 1970 Stanley Cup champion Boston Bruins.
Really?
Oh, really?
Wow.
They're around someplace, and I don't know where they are, but
Wow.
he had beer made up for.
So Phil was telling us about, speaking of memorabilia.
Well, this is, yeah, so there were 4 of these golden pucks
There was.
that you have one of.
I have one of them. Phil
And-
has one. Original.
Yeah.
Original owners.
Yeah.
Johnny Busick sold his to somebody back in British Columbia, I believe.
Okay.
Bobby Orr lost his to his Allen Eagles.
Eagles, that's what
Yeah.
Phil told us.
And Phil and I are the only 2 that have them.
Yeah.
And so, and now is it, this is, he says it's solid, is it gold plated?
Solid 14 karat gold.
Solid, it's a,
Solid.
it's a
Weighs about
puck
4.5 pounds. The
It's
shape
a
of a
puck.
puck.
of gold
Of gold.
with the Bruins, like, because he showed us a picture
Yeah.
of it, and we have a picture. We'll post that like when we do this too, a picture of it. And so you still have yours,
Yep.
and
Wow.
and so and obviously you know you have your son, and you have like your son, your whole family. Like, so what is the plan? So Phil's he's been asked about museums and stuff like that.
I've been toying with the idea of doing a lot of things with it or whatever. But I think I've come to the conclusion that we're going to put it into a family trust
Oh yeah,
and auction it off in some regard or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
People have inquired about it, whatever, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, truthfully. I mean,
Yeah.
it just sits around, collects dust and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I can hold it if you'd like.
You want to
Yeah,
take it
that's
back,
very
take
big
it
of
back
Chris.
to Canada,
I could probably buy the country.
a great story about that. We get to, in 71, we got the puck. I gave it to my dad. I said, Dad, here, I don't like this damn thing, whatever, what am I gonna do? And gold was only about $30 an ounce back then or whatever. And, he says, you sure? I said, yeah, you can take it back to Canada. I don't want it. Never realized it was the true value or whatever. I was never worried about the true value. Dad comes down, he says, I said, Dad, can you bring the puck down? I got somebody who's interested in looking at it. We did a thing with it. And he says, okay. He brings it down, he says, you don't mind, it's a little lighter than what it was when you gave it to me. He says, I had some fillings done in my teeth. I said, Dad. But, you know, what do you do with things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Well,
we have many of them. I mean,
well, my thought was, I think it's a Hockey Hall of Fame type of thing. 'Cause there's not, I don't know of any other team. I've never heard of that as a piece of memorabilia that a team has ever created. And certainly they'd be cost prohibitive now.
Yeah.
I had it, the value of the puck alone, just the gold value, was $50,000.
Yeah.
The gold value.
Yeah.
When it was created or put together, I would say probably made about $3,000 when the Bruins bought it.
Yeah.
They bought for it or whatever. So,
Yeah.
the company is out of business now called Belford Jewelers,
Yeah.
who did all the college rings and the high school rings and all that. Basically, they put it together. How they came up with the idea, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a solid piece of gold.
Well, wanted to acknowledge the
Yeah,
The
no,
100
that's
point scorers
Well,
and,
absolutely,
you know.
but
There's a lot of history that goes with it. Phil and I
Yeah.
have debated back and forth about the value of it or whatever.
Yeah.
The gold value is one thing, but the
Yeah.
historical
Right,
value
that's-
is
that's
another.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that's
If you can,
that's the why factor here.
if you can find somebody who really is a historical person, and
Yeah.
the history of the game or whatever, then it's
Yeah.
worth something.
Yeah.
But basically, it is what it is.
Yep.
yeah,
I mean, my kids used to play with it in the living room on the carpet floor, rolled it around or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, back when I got it, I mean, what are you gonna do with this damn thing?
Yeah.
you know?
yeah,
So, probably some of the guys on the team were a little upset that they didn't get part of it.
I
whatever,
suppose.
but,
Yeah.
You know,
you know,
But,
when they get the 100 points.
You had 7 guys in the top 11 scoring that year. It's unbelievable.
and Cashman wasn't, I think Cashman was what, 90 points or something like
Yeah.
that? He wasn't that far behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was a great time,
Yeah.
but a very disappointing time. when
Yeah.
we lost out.
But like you said, a primer maybe for 72.
Yeah.
Montreal knocked us out.
Well,
At home-
Dryden,
at home.
you know, how many times do you see a goaltender step up and Phil talked about it.
Let me tell you, it wasn't just Dryden.
No.
They had 4 top defensemen for crying out loud.
Yeah.
They were a wall also.
Yeah.
You know, you
Tremblay,
had
LaPerriere, Savard.
Robinson.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they weren't slouches.
No.
I think
No.
all of them are in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's the other thing that gets lost
Yeah.
over time is that because you guys were 24 points ahead of them in the standings, and it looked like a mismatch because you smoked them at the end of the regular season when Phil got to 76 goals. He scored a hat trick. But then Ken starts the playoffs, you know, and it wasn't Phil Muir, it wasn't Rogie Vachon, it was Ken Dryden, and I don't think nobody had a book on him, you know. Yeah, leaning on that goal stick, kicking out BBs, and
So-
it's still, I mean, the series still went 7 games, and,
Right.
you know, it could have, whatever, but I mean, obviously they proved it wasn't a fluke. They went on and beat Minnesota and beat Chicago, so.
And then some, you stop and think about the team. Shuck, Lemaire, Carnoy.
Yeah.
I mean, you go right through that lineup. I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
Well, that year, I mean, you
Yeah.
had Beliveau in his last year, who, like,
Bouchard.
let's be honest, Ken. It all changed in game 2. You had a 5-1 lead. They came back, right?
Right.
Won 7-5. That's where the
Bobby
series.
Russo.
Bobby Russo. Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
those names still haunt
yeah,
you. You know,
Yeah.
and the Bruins have always had a little bit of a stigma, you know, going into Montreal and losing to Montreal and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think they.
well, it went forever. Went from
Let's
40,
not talk-
43,
let's just not talk about this.
43 to 88.
You got to talk about
Yeah,
it.
I know.
It's factual.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and, but they overcame that. And
They did. Yeah, yeah. Now, when they won that last cup in 2011, I mean, they beat Montreal in the first round in overtime,
Yeah.
game 7, as we know, Nathan Horton. So,
I still remember the goal that Guy Lafleur scored.
yeah,
You know,
tie the game in
Bruins were,
79.
Bruins were leading, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a
Just
Montreal
amazing.
has found a way, it
Found
seemed,
a
for
way.
many years
You know?
to, like you said, until '88 when Boston finally started getting some W's on their own. But that's great stuff, man.
Yeah, you know what, absolutely.
That's
You know what,
great
I have
stuff.
to thank you. Before we end this, we're trying to do this thing, and I know you like to, you used to like to go out and have a good time with guys. If you ever go to karaoke, have you ever done that?
listen, it's bad enough hanging around you two guys. You invite me sometime?
No,
No. What if you go
It's just
out,
a question.
It's just a question. Want to know what's your go-to song at the karaoke bar?
if you were to
You're
go
going
out,
karaoke
what do
singing.
you
what's the
sing when
song?
you're in the car? What's your favorite song that that you might try at a karaoke bar?
That's a tough question to ask because I'm a big country and western fan.
Yeah,
For you.
there you go.
Okay.
That Chris does too.
So what? Yeah.
Kenny
Yeah.
Chesney.
Oh, you like Kenny
Oh.
Chesney? Yeah. Are you gonna wear? You're like no shirt, no shoes.
No, better one.
Which one?
I partied all last night.
Oh, okay. There you go. There we have it.
There you go.
Yeah, so, yeah.
No, we have it, and because I honestly believe that the go-to song for somebody's karaoke, actually, it was, to be honest, it was my wife who had suggested it, but the go-to song really tells a lot about the person, right? So we know.
Went to a party last night.
Wait. Yeah, exactly. So
Aspo picked Frankie Valley song.
that's right. Aspo had a Frankie Valli
Because
song.
he's a pussy.
No, we're showing him everything.
That's as a matter
We're
of fact.
showing him everything.
He's a pussy.
Yeah. Oh, listen, this has been absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Again,
Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, it's great. You know what? And we thank everybody else for watching it. This has been Shooting the
Shot.
with Hawes and Maguire. I'm Hawes.
I'm Maguire. G'day.